4 p.m. on talkSPORT. And it's crunch time at Wimbledon. Is Yannick Sinner fit enough to get past the pyrotechnic power of Ben Shelton and prove his worth as world number one? Here's Barry Cowan.
I haven't thought for Sinner the whole tournament. For me, it was a bit of a red flag when he got rid of his trainer and his physio just before the tournament. I thought that's a bit strange. I do see an Alcaraz Djokovic final. That's what it looks like in the men's.
As ever, there's more on talksport.com.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy, and we're live in talkSPORT. So Champions League qualification, the Europa Conference League trophy, and now a Club World Cup final for Chelsea. Has it been a perception-shifting few weeks for Enzo Maresca? Meantime, 23 Brits have come and fallen at Wimbledon. Does it highlight just how good this country had it with Andy Murray? Also today, as they return to training, how does the Liverpool dressing room respond to tragedy? Did last night in the House of Commons mark a damaging day for football or a celebratory one? How do leagues strike the balance between favouritism and welfare? And could golf be used for soft power? This is Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy. We're live in talkSPORT.
100% engagement. Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Danny Murphy, good morning to you. I thought it was going to be Jim White and Danny Murphy this morning, live in talkSPORT.
He never lets us down. There
he is.
Never lets you down.
He sprints in at the end. He's out there saying, oh, good morning, yes, good morning. Oh, hi to you. Did you go on your little Bill Clinton type spreading goodwill and shaking hands?
Yeah, that's
and
my stock in trade, isn't
kissing babies out there
That's
before you came into the studio? Yeah,
he's a resilient character. Even when he was unwell a while back, he was in so quickly. You got to give him credit.
Well said.
He'd have been one of those footballers well appreciated.
Yes, yeah. Well, he's well appreciated in here to an extent.
Right, enough of the compliments.
That's enough of the compliments. Danny Murphy, what has happened? Now, referee Joe, the assistant producer of the show, is still limping around having done his hamstring, which still gives us a great sense of amusement. But you look a bit under par as well. I saw you wince when you got up to come down to the studio here. What's happened? I'm
back in the gym and I'm stiff. I'm feeling old.
Yeah.
Struggling, yeah.
Yeah.
I pushed it a bit too hard.
Did you?
Yeah, I'm trying to get well again. I'm trying to get, feel good again and get fit again.
Right. Okay.
And, I've just gone too much. And getting out of bed this morning was a tough one.
You need a bit of help, did you? And
then I've also injured my hand playing golf. I mean, that's wear and tear and age as well. Honestly, I'm falling apart.
What's happening? I mean, when you're not going to be in shape to play this man at paddle tennis.
I will. That's the plan.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you go from strength to strength. You're looking super fit and bronzed and healthy and
haircut.
Yeah. And a cheeky little haircut after yesterday.
10 years of it.
As the week goes on and I distance myself from the memory of Monday morning, I feel better.
Oh, yeah, enlighten me.
I'd rather not.
No, we'd rather. We'll tell you in the course of the morning. I got a coffee actually this morning. I get a coffee every morning for myself and producer Luke. Yes. Just round the corner, I came out and this fella said, "You all right?" I said, "Am I okay?"
Why? Because you brought someone else a coffee.
After your experience on Monday with Martin Keown, I said, "We're none the worse, thank you very much indeed." Martin Keown has come and gone.
He was shocked, the fella behind the counter, when you ordered two.
Yes. Yes, indeed. A lot to get through this morning. Incidentally, Danny, I was up in the northwest at the weekend and I thought of you. Got out the station at Crewe and there's the stadium. And you still look back on that time at Crewe Alexandra with real fondness, don't you?
Yeah, I was up there recently, actually. It's stadium's a million miles away from when I was there. They've put good money into that.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been actually for a little while, but when I was back there, I did see how They've used the money well. It's developed the stadium. The training ground's good. It's in a good place.
It is. It is so much
After
so.
the troubles, of course.
I pledged to the people of Crewe Alexandra I'll come up to a game this season. And I mean it. In the meantime, let's reflect on events in the Club World Cup in the US, and we'll do that with DAZN.
FIFA Club World Cup Roundup on talkSPORT, presented by DAZN. Watch every game of the FIFA Club World Cup live and for free on DAZN. Sign up now at DAZN.com.
So now we know it'll be Chelsea in the final of the Club World Cup, but who will they play? Will it be PSG or will it be Real Madrid? We shall find out tonight. Now, I want to look at this from the perspective of Chelsea and their coach, Enzo Maresca. Champions League qualification, the Europa Conference League trophy, and a Club World Cup final. What do you think, Simon? Before we hear from Maresca himself, has it been a perception-shifting few months for Enzo Maresca? Because at one stage, I don't think Chelsea fans were having this guy.
Well, it depends what your perception of him was. I mean, we spent the entirety of Christmas talking up Chelsea whilst he talked them down.
Yeah.
And then we watched him criticise the media for talking Chelsea down at the end of the season as if he... Well, okay, fantastic. Bottom of the tier of European football in terms of the competitions that are available. Gone into this tournament, a tournament that's been universally derided. And if you look at the opposition, I mean, okay, they're in the final, but with respect to who they've played, they've gotten beaten by Flamengo. But other than that, okay, Benfica are a half-decent side. But look who they've played in the competition. I mean, they've played LAFC. They've played a Tunisian side.
Yeah.
I mean, they've hardly, hit the trip the lights fantastic against the best teams in the world. But
Well,
here they are in a
Benfica,
final.
And they beat the two Brazilian clubs.
Well, they should beat Benfica.
They should beat Benfica.
Yeah,
And
but you can only beat what's in front of you.
I know,
Of
of
course you pundits tell
I know,
us.
but if they were playing a Madrid or a PSG in the way that PSG have drawn Real Madrid, I suspect that they probably might not have got to this final. But in the final they are. The argument will be made if they were to win this tournament, which I don't think they will do if they get PSG, is that they're the best team in the world. It's a silly argument because they're not the best team in the world. They've won the inaugural tournament and the draw's been incredibly favourable. But out of it comes some light, I suspect, for the ownership model, because not only have they gone into this competition and been part of it, and really quite frankly they shouldn't be really, because the fact is they finished not particularly high in the league in the last couple of years, and it's a tournament that they won 3 or 4 years ago that's qualified from this competition. But economically they'll have done well out of it, and now you've got a bit of momentum.
Are you giving the owners credit?
What have they
done?
Well, the owners will have provided them with the team, so the players that they've got,
that's the least they can do.
And no, it's not the least they can do. I mean, ultimately, they bankroll every single aspect of the football club, spent billions of quid, give credit where credit's due. The fella they've just bought, who just rocked through the doors, just scored 2 goals in the Club World Cup semi-final. So you have to give credit to people when it's due and give them criticism when it's not.
But wait, how do you view the significance of what these players have achieved under Maresca? Champions League qualification, a Europa Conference League trophy. I know what you're saying about that competition in itself, Simon. And now a World Club final.
Well, it's the best thing he could have done. He's got silverware, Champions League qualification, and now he's entered a tournament, whether you like it or not. And if they win it, it's better than not. It's all money in the bank for him. So,
are you rowing back a bit now, Danny, on the fact that this Club World Cup is worthless?
No, it is worthless. It's not worthless financially. That's for sure.
No.
But it's not going to have any impact on how they do in the league next year.
But surely it's worth the inaugural Club
winning
World
games
Cup.
of football and winning any trophy, whether it be pre-season, whether it be it's good.
You bet PSG want to win it. You bet Real Madrid want to win it.
Yeah, and sometimes the foreign clubs have this kind of more sentimental view on this type of thing. I'm talking from my point of view and knowing English players. I don't, or just players in the Prem, that they're not going to be out there desperately upset. I mean, did you see the Man City players devastated after they lost? I know what they would be. I know what they'd have been saying on the way in. Thank God.
What do you mean the foreign clubs have a more sentimental view?
It's like foreign managers when they come. They always have this thing about they're always obsessed with European trophies rather than the domestic league or the FA Cup. They always were. It's just kind of a mentality differential. Ultimately, look, they're going to benefit by making money to buy more players that benefits the squad and strengthens the squad.
Well, this tournament is a mixed bag, isn't it? First of all, you've got some teams in there that are in the middle of their seasons. Second of all, you've got teams in there that are not going to be affected by the climate because they play in this climate all the time. The two of the strands of the arguments that people are complaining about will be diminished by two sets of clubs that are either in South American football playing in climates like this, or Spanish football, and in American football playing as they're playing now because it's their regular season. So two strands of the the sort of deriding of the tournament are taken away from those clubs. Chelsea winning a competition is momentum building. What you're trying to do is
Not really.
Well, it is to some extent.
Not for the players.
Because it builds up a confidence of belief. It builds up a culture. Rather than people keep saying what a car crash Chelsea is. Yeah. People start talking about it differently.
Positive.
Yes, exactly.
And you know, if you can see something,
moves the needle.
If you can see something, you can be something. But in isolation, this is a tournament that a lot of people aren't particularly engaged by. Will it define whether Chelsea can win a Premier League there? Absolutely not.
No. Let's see what Enzo Maresco thinks about the significance, at least, of reaching the final.
We are very happy. We are very proud to play the final on Sunday. The reason why is because this is the Club World Cup, first edition. Best club in the world, they are here. So for us to be there on Sunday is something that we have to be proud. So very happy about that. We are.
I mean, that's him talking about it. Does it make them the best club in the world?
No, we've discussed that. I mean,
does it make them anywhere near it?
To be fair to him, what else is he going to say? He's got to roll out the nonsense you got to say when you're in charge of a team that's just got to a final. It's one of those situations. I don't see a huge benefit. I mean, let's say I don't know how bad the injury is. Caicedo, their best midfielder. What if he misses the start of the season because of this? Do you think Bayern Munich now are sitting there with Musiala, who to replace him would cost them 100 million in the transfer market? He's going to be out for 6-8
No,
months.
but injuries can happen at any time, anywhere.
Well, more so when you're playing at the end of a long, hard season in a tournament. You're only in for money.
I mean, at the end of the day, there'll be the envy of all the other clubs, Chelsea, if they end up winning this. You bet. And the bunch of cash that they take home with them. Absolutely.
Well, maybe the hierarchy of other clubs might think, well, we could do with that money, but there'll be no Liverpool player, Arsenal player, or Man City player sitting at home watching that thinking, I wish I was there. Let me tell you that.
There's Steve from Dartford. Good morning to you, Steve. If Liverpool were in this final, Murphy would be lauding them. He's right.
No, I wouldn't.
Yes, you would.
No, I wouldn't.
If Liverpool were in the final...
When have you ever heard me...
You'd be a heck of a lot more upbeat about it.
I would say the same thing about the relevance of it from a football
perspective. Would you still be saying winning the final's worthless?
Yeah. For me, it would be. That doesn't mean anything at the moment, this. It might grow to. But I don't think from a player's perspective, we've got so many important competitions to be playing and things to look forward to stay fit for. I don't think it's a big deal on the player.
It's not meaningless. It's just not as meaningful as people are trying to characterise it. It's a tournament.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's a tournament that's been curated out of a set of desires, which is FIFA to raise more money and to have a land grab over what UEFA are doing.
Which doesn't sit well, does it?
And it doesn't sit well. And then you've also got the added dynamic of people being uncomfortable with the timing of the fixture. Then you've got the third dynamic, which is playing in America, which is not a particularly football-based country, soccer-based country. So all of those have eroded it. Now, roll forward. I mean, I'm sure when the European Cup was first mooted many, many years ago, people didn't suddenly turn around and say it was more meaningful than winning the Division 1 in English football, whatever it was. It's because something becomes valuable over a period of time. When the League Cup was first brought in the 60s, and it was brought in to cement the opportunity for big clubs being knocked out of the FA Cup to keep getting revenue, I'm sure the League Cup wasn't valued from its first inception. Over a period of time, the cachet and the kudos, you're in a tournament. What's made this tournament so remarkable is the level of remuneration that's available to the teams.
Yeah.
You're going to play X amount of games, 8 games tops, and you're going to win the tournament. I think it's 8, isn't it? You're going to likely get 120 million. Right now, put that into context. You get 170 million for playing 38 games in a Premier League season and winning the.
This is why it
league.
isn't worthless, Simon. A semi-final win last night saw Chelsea bank an additional 22 million quid. Their current tournament earnings stand at just over 80 million pounds so far.
Well, that's the benefit, isn't it? We're talking about it from two.
But in winning the Premier League, are Liverpool the best team in England?
Yes.
Well, at the moment they are. Of course they are. But it's not Chelsea.
Are winning the Champions League, are PSG the best team in Europe?
Yeah, currently. That's the way it works.
So winning the Club World Cup, you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, but you haven't got all the best teams in this to be able to have that crown given to you.
I wonder what Chelsea fans think about this.
Well, if you look at you know what it is? The criteria for this is what it is. We know what the criteria is for how you get to qualify for it. The reality is what that means is, in itself, is that all the best teams aren't there.
But also the qualification. I mean, you look at PSG, you often see that the best teams in Europe don't necessarily win the Champions League, or a few occasions you've seen it. In this instance, you've seen the best team in Europe win the Champions League by beating the other best teams in Europe, including Liverpool, that won the domestic title in what's arguably the most competitive league in world football. So the argument with PSG being, are they the best team in Europe, is more salient than a bunch of sides being accumulated over a historic level of achievements, which are not even relational to today. Chelsea's qualification from 4 years ago from winning the Champions League, and then putting them in a bag and then sifting it out and playing Tunisian sides and American sides and a couple of Brazilian sides, and out comes a competition that Chelsea are unlikely to. And if Chelsea go, the argument might have some saliency. If Chelsea go and beat PSG in a final, then you can turn around and say, well, hang on a second, they are really in good nick right now.
Yeah, exactly. I think you've got to come round to that way of thinking if they beat either, and it will be either, of course, PSG or Real Madrid in the final. I wonder what Chelsea fans' view is this morning of Enzo Maresca. Have you changed your opinion of Enzo Maresca? Because there was a time not that long ago that many of you thought his style of play was boring, and you let him know that by protesting about it. And in fact, there were protests in the street about Chelsea. Where are you at now with your club, both on and off the pitch? You could be on the brink of becoming Club World Cup champions. Does that mean something to you? Should it mean something to you? I would have thought it does. You might want to give us a call on that. 03717 2233 44 810 89.
FIFA Club World Cup Roundup on talkSPORT, presented by DAZN. Sign up now at DAZN.com to watch every game live and for free.
He plays that villain role very well now. That's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
morning, everybody. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Danny Murphy on this Wednesday morning, Wednesday, July the 9th. I wonder if these two make of this. This gentleman was in the studio, certainly in the 17th floor, not that long ago, joined Simon and myself. Red Bull, news coming out of F1 in the last few moments. Christian Horner has been sacked by Red Bull after 20 years as team principal. Laurent Miquez has been promoted from Red Bull to another position within Red Bull to replace him as chief executive. So Christian Horner sacked by Red Bull after 20 years as team principal. Certainly, Simon, Christian Horner, we know, has had to live through one or two interesting times of late. Yeah. When controversy surrounded him and the finger was being pointed at him regards his behaviour and the way about he went his business as chief executive, and as you rightly say, he weathered that storm. But when he was in here, he very much gave me, I don't know about you, the impression that this is a guy who very much has a significant role to play, not just at Red Bull but in F1.
Yeah, and he may well have thought he still did. And obviously others have decided, for whatever reason, we're yet to determine what that is, whether it's a shake-up of Red Bull, whether they're unhappy with the performance, whether there's other issues behind the scenes. But nothing lasts forever. I mean, if you've been in a situation like this, where you've been a team principal for a very long time, for 20 years,
yes.
First of all, it tells you something about his capabilities and also his stickability.
Yeah.
But change is, is inevitable.
Yeah, it's been phrased by other news outlets somewhat differently. I'm looking at one, I won't name the outlet. Red Bull says it has released Christian Horner from his operational duties with effect from today. Let's get more on this. John Jackson is talkSPORT's F1 reporter. John, good morning to you. What do you know about this?
Good morning, Jim. I'm obviously still getting information as we talk here now, but it was first reported from sources in the Netherlands, which you probably mentioned already. Racing News 365 is one of the publications that was fed this information early on. And as you said there, Red Bull have just confirmed it to Racing News 365 and a contact of mine called Nick Golding, who's one of the writers there. And it looks like the Racing Bulls team principal, Laurent Miquez, will be replacing Christian Horner as not only the CEO of Red Bull Racing, but also the team principal of the premier team, Red Bull Racing, which obviously has Max Verstappen and Yuki Tsunoda driving for them. There was reports a couple of weeks ago that there was a potential bit of interest in him from Ferrari, which I'm not sure there was much in that, but at this stage, we don't know whether they've replaced him or if Christian Horner has chosen to go. So I guess this will develop. I'm sort of getting texts as we're speaking now, so it's all going off.
It is all going off, John. Certainly, he's a significant figure in the sport. I mean, since 2005, as you know, Horner served as team principal and chief exec of Red Bull Racing in Formula One, winning 6 World Constructors' Championship titles between 2010 and 2023. So he's a man who made an impact in the sport and still does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Christian Horner's been involved in motorsport for many, many years, used to run one of the junior teams there and had some success there, and obviously has been incredibly successful running Red Bull Racing. And we've seen over the last few years being the team principal with the likes of Sebastian Vettel winning multiple world championships and Max Verstappen winning multiple world championships now. He's been incredibly successful at the top of his game, but obviously there were situations early last year where there were these allegations that were made, which were found to be were not upheld by an independent investigation, of his conduct. And there were rumours that he would maybe not survive that back then. So he has lasted a little bit longer than a lot of people would have thought. But I mean, there's always a divide in the Red Bull camp. It's not a happy camp behind the scenes, and you've got big players like Jos Verstappen, Max Verstappen's dad, who's always happy to say what he thinks. And at the moment on the track, the performance isn't there, is it? So there are big questions over whether Red Bull needs to think for things to change. And when you're the man at the top, then unfortunately, if you're not performing, then you're the first person to have the finger pointed at you. So I think it will be interesting to see whether this was a decision that Christian Horner, chose to leave, or there was a mutual parting of ways. That's how it was described to me by, as I say, my contact at Racing News 365, who wrote the story. But obviously, you take these things with a pinch of salt.
Yes, indeed. He's only 51, John, still a young man, so still has a good few years yet in the sport, should he wish to stay in the sport. And of course, as you rightly say, there has been talk about a move to Ferrari. So one has to think, we'll watch that space. That might loom large in the coming days or weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what the contract situation would be. Obviously, how they parted terms, that's all too fresh at the moment. But you'd think they would be interested in him. He is a man with, as we say, extreme caliber in the world of Formula One, and he's been there, done that, and he's won many, many things. So for other teams, and this is probably why he was linked with Ferrari, because Ferrari, as we know, Lewis Hamilton's gone there, and they've not really given him the car to do what Lewis Hamilton wants to do, which is win an 8th world title. So I would imagine if Christian Horner, if and when he's free to negotiate with other teams, there would be interest there. And it'll be interesting to see where he goes, because he's been at Red Bull for, as you said there, well over 20 years.
Yes, indeed. John, thank you very much indeed. John Jackson, talkSPORT's F1 correspondent. Simon, I don't know about you, but when he was in with us on the 17th floor, he's an impressive figure. He knows everything there is to know about this sport, as you'd expect.
I mean, listen, he's a competent fellow. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been in a position for 20 years. I don't know whether he's impressive or not in his field. I mean, clearly he's been presiding over a team for 20 years, and people have lots of choices who they put in situ. And if you've won 6 constructors championships over that period of time, then you have some substance about you. Whether he's good at his job, whether he's someone that people enjoy working with, I don't know. I didn't get any sense of that speaking to him. He's a confident lad, sat in the studio, asked a few questions, gave a few answers, and off he went. So other than that, I don't know much more about him. As far as his ability to be moving somewhere else, if he's being released from his contract, I'm assuming he's able to do as he pleases, because he's not taking the decision. He's not walking out of a contract unless we're reading the room wrong. So he'll be in a situation, and it may well be that he batted his eyes. Who knows? If we've got links with him with Mercedes and he starts batting his eyes at Mercedes, and Red Bull don't like the look of that, you can see that happening in football. It happened to Gary Rowett at Birmingham, batted his eyes at other football clubs. The Birmingham owners didn't like it, and out the door he went.
Well, he's in a wonderful position, isn't he? I mean, he's super experienced and probably courted after by other, the other...
for sure.
And if he decides, you know what, I've been in the game a long time, I need a little break, he's not going to be worrying about his mortgage payments, is he?
Oh no, he doesn't need to worry about that. Of course, he's a British motorsport executive. He's a former driver himself, so he's virtually done everything there is to do in the sport, and has held down a whole range of different roles. And now, of late, as chief exec of Red Bull, that particular role has come to an end. Whether he's been sacked, whether there's a mutual parting of the ways, whatever. But he's out of Red Bull, and what next for Christian Horner? We'll find out more, no doubt, in the course of this morning.
He doesn't diversify into music production and re-released his wife's songs.
Oh, that's true. That's right. Yeah, Jerry Halliwell. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Or he might fancy radio.
He's actually the longest-serving team principal in F1, with his exit coming a year on from being accused of controlling behaviour by a female member of staff at the team. Christian Horner always denied those allegations that were made against him. So in the last few moments, Red Bull have said, we'd like to thank Christian for his exceptional work over the last 20 years. With his tireless commitment, experience, expertise and innovative thinking, he has been instrumental in establishing Red Bull Racing as one of the most successful and attractive teams in F1. Thank you for everything, Christian, and you will forever remain an important part of our team history. So that's over. What's next for Christian Horner? We might be able to tell you a bit more about that before we go at 1 o'clock. In the meantime, Chelsea fans, what do you think? This Club World Cup, something worth winning? Well, you're in the final, and now it's down to those 11 Chelsea players who take to the field either against PSG or Real Madrid. It's Jim White with Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy this Wednesday morning live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
After João Pedro's breathtaking double sent Chelsea to the Club World Cup final, the question arises, can this young side mount a serious title challenge if they're not too knackered? They were lacking in the department of leadership and maturity last campaign, and former defender Mario Melchiot says they'll need to find an answer.
You need someone that is consistently making sure that if things don't go the way it's supposed to be going, that he grabs you and say, let's go. It doesn't matter what, and that question is going to be tested.
Live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2 this morning, the biggest dress rehearsal for the test matches so far for the Lions as they take on the Brumbies. Gordon Darcy's told us the criticism they've faced for the lack of ruthlessness with ball in hand against the Waratahs is completely fair.
This isn't a test international team where you can spend time on the small details. The expectation is that you're good enough at those small details at this level. You're the best of four countries.
From the Lions to the Lionesses, and no warm-ups for them tonight. It's do or die against the Netherlands this afternoon. Here's Tash Dowie.
If England play the way they did against France, they're going home. You know, the Dutch are too good. They're in a really good moment. I think they've got some world-class players within the team.
And it's crunch time at Wimbledon. Is Yannick Sinner fit enough to get past the pyrotechnic power of Ben Shelton and prove his worth as world number one? Here's Barry Cowan.
I haven't thought for Sinner the whole tournament. I do see an Alcaraz Djokovic final. That's what it looks like in the men's.
As ever, there's more on talksport.com.
Just gone 10:30 this Wednesday morning. Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy. The Lions tour down under continues this morning, and you will not miss a thing on the talkSPORT network. So from 11 o'clock, half an hour from now, you can hear full live exclusive commentary of the Brumbies versus the Lions over on talkSPORT 2. Now, we'll be updating you throughout the morning on our show, but the easiest way to listen is by downloading the talkSPORT app, where you can swipe between talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2. Just to reaffirm that news, in the last few moments, a statement from Red Bull Racing, the world of F1, of course. Christian Horner has been sacked by Red Bull after 20 years as team principal. A man by the name of Laurent Mikas has been promoted from within the organisation to replace Horner as chief executive. More reaction to that throughout the course of the morning. Danny doesn't think much of the Club World Cup, and many out there would agree with Danny. You're in agreement. But if you're a Chelsea fan, you're now pretty much locked into it. Now that your club, Chelsea, has got to the final on Sunday, and they will play either PSG or Real Madrid. Does it now mean something? And have you changed your view somewhat on Enzo Maresca? Are you now having this coach 100%, whereas many of you were in doubt as to whether or not he was the right man for the job? 03717 223344. Just before we go to the phone lines, and many of you calling in, I'm delighted about that. Where do you stand, Danny, on Enzo Maresca? You know a decent coach when you see one, mate. You played at the highest level. Is he one?
Well, he's obviously a good coach. I mean, you don't get the job, first and foremost, if you're not good at what you do. They'll have done their research. But I think for the first half of the season, there was lots to admire about Chelsea. There really was. There was good football. He was dynamic. He seemed to get them on board with what he was doing. I think inevitably there was a drop-off because of the lack of experience at times, game management, lack of confidence as a young group when you lose a few games. But ultimately, if you're looking at boxes ticked at the end of a season, he did all he could. More or less. I mean, they've finished in a Champions League spot by hook or by crook, fifth place. They've got a bit of silverware. He's given he's given himself some time, hasn't he? Let's be honest.
Success in this competition, does that move the needle on Chelsea and their title credentials next season?
Not for me, it doesn't, no. I think inevitably the expectation will rise irrelevant of this because of A, the money they spent, and B, the feeling that a lot of those players are now established and grown in that year and should be better.
But are they well and truly title challengers?
I would say with the squad they have right now, no. I still think a goalkeeper, a centre-half like a Van Dijk, a Saliba, you know, that type of Diaz, somebody who has that ability to guide those around.
Okay.
They still don't have, but they might have by the start of the season.
You said challengers last season, Simon.
Yeah.
Are they more than that going into this season?
No, I mean, I think there were better teams and better managers above him.
Yeah.
And if you look at the fact they finished fourth last year, and you look who's above them.
Did they finish fourth?
They finished fourth, yeah.
Sorry,
I was just checking, yeah. Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, Guardiola.
Should have corrected me. Hit me.
Well, no, I didn't want to. I'll leave that to other people to correct people. Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City above them. Guardiola, Arteta and Slot.
Yeah.
They're all improving their sides. We obviously have the tragedy at Liverpool. We don't know how that's going to impact upon the team.
That's true.
Right.
And all that goes with that. But Arsenal are buying well. So you'd expect Arsenal to raise the notch. You'd expect City to come back and start, stop drinking the Kool-Aid and start getting back into the real cut and thrust of Premier League football. So it makes it difficult. But I think
Chelsea will be better than last year.
I think Chelsea will be better than next year, and I think they'll stabilise. But they might just finish fourth again.
This Wednesday morning, July the 9th, Champions League qualification, the Europa Conference League trophy in the bank, and now a Club World Cup final. How significant is it? Do all these achievements hold a great deal of value? Here's Lawrence, big Chelsea fan. Lawrence, you're first up. Good morning. What's your view at the moment of where your club is at?
Well, good morning. First and foremost, love the show. Simon Jordan for Prime Minister at some point. Unbelievable guy.
Danny and I would second that.
Loved you since the moment you came on talkSPORT. So thank you for that. Number two, let's get onto instead of me talking about Chelsea, let's get onto the crybaby of Danny Murphy talking about Chelsea and how bad they are and they're this and they're that.
When did I say they were bad?
Well, throughout the season, you've been constantly criticising Chelsea.
That's completely wrong.
If Liverpool were in this competition, there'd be a different swing on it. It'd be like, this is a fantastic competition. Are you
telling me or asking me?
Well, I don't really want to ask you because I don't really care for your opinion, mate, if I'm totally honest. I like Simon Jordan.
Just say what you got to say then.
Well, I'm going to say what I'm going to say. And I think Chelsea are actually going in the good direction.
That's what we just said.
Since they've taken over. Yeah, I know, but then why have you been criticising Chelsea?
When did I?
Season? Constantly.
Well, give me an example because I don't understand what you're making something up. How would I be criticising Chelsea when they were second by Christmas? What was there to criticise?
Okay, yeah, just don't worry then. Don't worry. You're asking for examples, but I hear you.
Well, you just said I constantly do it. If I constantly do something, you should be able to bring up an example now.
I don't need to bring up an example to you.
Okay.
I don't need to. I hear it all the time, and it's boring.
Well, Lawrence,
so they don't need a keeper or a centre half now.
No, I do agree with you. They need a keeper. I don't. Have you watched? Because again, you said Chelsea finished fifth, not fourth. So again, that was a little bit
wrong. Yeah,
disappointing to hear. Okay, yeah, a little mistake. That's fine. What about Trevor Chalobah? Have you watched his performances throughout since he came back from Crystal Palace? Like, have you actually watched them, Danny?
Yeah, I watch more football than most. I saw him at Palace as well, doing really well. I like Chalobah, but he's not Van Dijk. He's not Saliba, is he?
No one's saying he's a Van Dijk, but has he not come in and really had a very good end to the season and done well in this Club World Cup?
Yeah, he's done well.
Okay, so why do Chelsea need to buy a centre-half then if they've got a great academy product like that and Levi Colwill as well?
Well, I think the majority of Chelsea fans agree with me in terms of the experience needed at the back. They let Thiago Silva go and didn't really replace him. And I think when you've got two centre-halves who are talented, but both young and inexperienced, you might get games where they struggle.
Well, Lawrence,
which we saw.
Lawrence, before you go, are Chelsea well and truly title challengers going into next season?
Not yet. Not for me. I still think they've got a little bit more to do. I still think, like Danny did say, the goalkeeper is something that is important and needs addressing. However, I do think the squad depth is starting to get is a lot better now than what it was.
Yeah.
We've got Champions League football coming up. There's maybe one or two. I think they need to buy another left back just in case Cucurella, he's got a lot of games to play. But I'm really happy with the way Chelsea going.
Lawrence, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the call, mate. What about Jason, big Chelsea fan? Good morning to you, Jason. Where do you stand on this and where you're at right now?
Yeah, first of all, the Club World Cup. I'm not overly bothered either way, but we're in the final. I'm not under any illusion that if we win it, that we're the best team, because we weren't the best team in England, let alone in the world. I don't agree with quite a lot of what the gentleman beforehand said about Danny constantly digging Chelsea out, because I have heard him give them a lot of praise. My only potential gripe as such would be, I do hear Danny say on a few occasions that, Chelsea got into the Champions League by hook or by crook. Well, for me, the season's 38 games. So whether or not you do it on the last game is irrelevant, personally. It's not like we was relying completely on other results.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
We had to go to Forest and win, which we did.
You did, yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's just I've heard you say it, and I'm not having a go by any means. I'm just saying I've heard you say it a few times. I just wondered whether or not, if it would be the other way round. And I'm sure I'm not just going to use Liverpool because that's who you play for, but maybe if there was another team. For me, Tottenham have got into the Champions League that way, but that's how they were going to do it. And credit to them, that was the route that they needed to take, and that's the way that they were going to do it. Because it certainly weren't going to be in the league.
True.
However, I just think that it's a little bit. I don't want to. I just think it's easy to say, got in there, but because it's, as I said, it's 38-game season, and that's what you're required to do. Play, because we always say, don't we? You play the full 90 minutes.
No, I only said hook or by crook because I thought it was fifth. I did, we are in July.
Yeah, of course.
It's like you're allowed to forget. They finished fourth and they deserved it. But I was pleased for them. I'm always pleased to see teams with lots of young players do well.
Yeah,
and I like watching Chelsea play.
Jason, it's a good call. Ahmad, big Chelsea fan. Where are you at with Maresca, Ahmad?
I think he's doing a great job. He's hit his target of this season to get us into the Champions League and win us the trophy. Now we're in the Club World Cup final, probably against PSG and Real Madrid, the one and two best teams in the world. And if we win against one of those two teams, we'll be up there. Probably not say the best team, but we'll be up there in the top 5 best teams in the world. And I think people dismissing the Club World Cup is a joke, because you already have the best teams playing. You have Bayern Munich Champions League winners, City Champions League winners, Real Madrid Champions League winners, PSG, Chelsea, all Champions League winners. And it's a final between the top 5-10 sides in Europe. That's what it is.
Ahmad's not wrong. He's not wrong there, Danny, is he? He's not wrong. The best of the best are in this thing.
Well, Liverpool aren't, and they're the best team in England.
Well, there's
Liverpool were not good enough in the last 5 seasons to qualify for this. They were qualified for the next set.
Yeah,
but they weren't good enough.
It depends how you judge it.
They didn't meet the conditions of entry.
Yeah, but then you can have an argument about the criteria. Should if you're playing a Club World Cup, the current champions of each country should be in it, shouldn't they?
Yeah. Okay. Ahmad, will you be rejoicing if Chelsea win it?
So what did you say, Jim?
Will you be rejoicing if Chelsea win it?
I will be happy. It's not like winning the Champions League, but again, it's a big trophy, and I'll be happy. We'll be the first to win it, and we would have won it all.
Yeah.
All the trophies. First team to do it.
Fair play to you. I think that's all fair. Fair comment.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting it asked about face because you're working your way backwards. I mean, you've won the big trophies and you're going down to the little ones now. So you can take that little claim if you want, because a lot of the Chelsea fans calling in seem to have a little bit of a persecution complex. You are entitled to be in a competition of this ilk because of the amount of money that you've spent. Let's not lose sight of it. I will defend the owners to some extent, but by hook or by crook, Chelsea should be achieving things because they aren't doing it organically. They're buying everybody and everything. They're orchestrating themselves into a situation where their economics can sell their women's team for 200 million quid and hotels to be able to achieve it. So with respect to what Chelsea are doing, they should be doing this. They should be finishing 4th in the Premier League. They should be being able to be competitive. They should win the European Conference
with the money
League.
they've spent.
With the stature of the club, the legacy that they've inherited, albeit a slightly a dysfunctional period when Abramovich has exited out the door, stage left.
Yeah.
And in comes Bowley, and they spent a fortune.
Yes. And they're in the Club World Cup final. And let's see if they win it. Wednesday morning, Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy. Not much love by the Chelsea fans this morning as our Danny, but he's loved by us. And we're live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
plays that villain role very well now. That's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
Lions Tour Down Under continues this morning. You won't miss a thing across the talkSPORT network. From 11 o'clock, just minutes from now, you can hear full live exclusive commentary of Brumbies versus the Lions over in talkSPORT 2. And we'll update you throughout the morning in our show, but the easiest way to listen is by downloading the talkSPORT app, where you can swipe between talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2. That game coming up just minutes away from kickoff. Minutes away from hearing more about Christian Horner, parting company as chief exec of Red Bull Racing. He has gone, but why did he go and who's next? How does it impact the world of F1? Spanish authorities have released their initial findings into the car crash that last week killed Liverpool striker Diogo Jota and his brother Andre Silva. Jota and Silva were driving on the A52 dual carriageway near the northwest city of Zamora, close to the Portuguese border, when their Lamborghini came off the road and burst into flames. We saw, of course, the Liverpool players and players of other clubs, Bruno Fernandes of Manchester United and others, attending the funeral of the two boys over the weekend. But, of course, with the Liverpool players now returning to training, how does a dressing room respond to a tragedy such as this? And it is a tragedy. Danny, you very kindly, and I don't know how you managed to do it, but you held it together brilliantly, mate. And you joined us on Thursday on the morning the news came through. And I do thank you for that and your contribution there and then. This is your club. With that very much in mind, how does the Liverpool dressing room respond to tragedy such as this?
Well, to be honest, Jim, it's difficult for me to say because I've never experienced anything like it. And I think it'll be an individual thing. Everyone's different how they deal with grief. Some of the players will be closer with him than others. I think there'll be good support for the players as well. So, yeah, it's an ongoing thing. It's impossible, as Simon alluded to before, to think about how it impacts the team at the beginning of the season, pre-season training. We just have to wait and see.
Psychologically, might it in a strange way bring the group more together?
Possibly, yeah. That could happen. Certainly bring the supporters together again. There'll be a desire for the players to succeed, won't there, for him, of course. It's I don't know. It's going to be a really difficult one. And, of course, the gap he leaves football-wise as well, that's another something they'll have to address further down the line.
How have you coped with it? This is your club.
I think like everybody, you're just shocked, aren't you? It gives you a sense of, your own mortality to a degree and the people around you and all those things. So, yeah, it was horrendous to see. It really was. And I think the opening day of the season for Liverpool is going to be an emotional experience for everyone. I might try and get to that game.
I mean, emotions are running high still, obviously. I was at Anfield on Saturday over the weekend.
You? Okay.
And so many fans had turned up. I was saying to Simon, dads, mums, and little children. All you could hear were the voices of the kids amongst the huge numbers who were paying their respects. I got to know a lot more about Diogo as well, as a lad, immensely popular and thrilled to be a Liverpool player, wasn't he? Thrilled to have been given the opportunity to play for Wolves, which he took with both hands, and then move up a stage or two, with all due respect to Wolves, to Liverpool.
Well, I think the way he played, you could see how much he enjoyed it. His work ethic was phenomenal. His quality was there for all to see. But the outpouring of messages from those who knew him so well to give you a bit more of an insight into his personality and who he was. Family man, of course, but as a friend, as a colleague, the things he's done for people we didn't know about. Just an incredible guy who, I don't know, how can you put into the right words the hole he's going to leave for so many? And someone asked me when I first talked about it last week, have I ever experienced anything like that when I'm playing football? And the answer is no. Thank God. So yeah, it's going to be a difficult time for those players. Obviously his family, of course, but from a footballing perspective. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, there'll be an emotional response from the supporters, which normally energises players.
Unites. I mean, without wanting to draw comparisons between tragedies, in '89 you obviously saw the Hillsborough circumstances, and the following season Liverpool won the title. Yeah. And there was great tragedy there, of course, in the circumstances.
Well, they actually won the FA Cup just after it.
If I were willing to, I mean, this is a club that seems to sometimes have so much tragedy around it. We're talking about instances in Liverpool recently with that fellow driving through the crowds, celebrating Liverpool's Premier League win. Obviously, we've seen the history of Liverpool and the challenges at Hillsborough and Heysel. And this club is a unique club, and it galvanises itself as a unique support base. So if I were wagering on the side of what it would likely to be, I would wager that they'll be very united and very strong, and that whilst it will have an effect and the players will be in a very strange frame of mind now, coming back to a training ground where it's very live and very current. But over the passage of time, they'll regain their poise, I suspect, and they will focus on achieving outcomes that the young man that's passed away would want to have been part of.
Yeah. You've been at the top of a football club, Simon. Those at the top at Liverpool, do they have a responsibility to guide this huge, giant club through this time?
Well, of course they do. In the same way that they would have done in '89, post the Hillsborough circumstances, and they have done in other instances. You've seen Slot wrote a very considered and deep piece, and very well put together. And this is where you get leaders coming forward and making sure that people lead properly and everything is done in a way that's respectful, mindful, but also looking forward. They have to look forward. As harsh as that may sound, that is the reality of life. You know, we're seeing the circumstances and tragedies like this happen around the world every single day. What we've seen today is a public domain figure, a vibrant young footballer. And, you know, my feelings are more for the family and his immediate family, because they're the ones that are really in the eye of this particular horrendous storm. They're the ones with the greatest loss. And so the football club will remember that and remind itself of it, and the media must do the same, because there are people that are much more affected by this than, say, people in the media or football fans.
Nice touch as well, retiring the shirt.
Yeah.
I think that was the right thing to do.
So we shall see as the new season approaches how are Liverpool going to shape up. Liverpool, of course, champions of England, Premier League champions of England, going into another season. This is another show, and we're at 11 o'clock this Wednesday morning.
After João Pedro's breathtaking double sent Chelsea to the Club World Cup final, the question arises, can this young side mount a serious title challenge if they're not too knackered? They were lacking in the department of leadership and maturity last campaign, and former defender Mario Melchiot says they'll need to find an answer.
You need someone that is consistently making sure that if things don't go the way it's supposed to be going, that he grabs you and say, let's go. It doesn't matter what, and that question is going to be tested.
Live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2 this morning, the biggest dress rehearsal for the test matches so far for the Lions as they take on the Brumbies. Gordon Darcy's told us the criticism they've faced for the lack of ruthlessness with ball in hand against the Waratahs is completely fair.
You've got Gibson Park, you've got Finn Russell, mentioned Blair Kinghorn, Jack Conan, Mario Toje. These guys, your expectation for them is that they make better decisions in those scoring opportunities. This isn't a test international team where you can spend time on the small details. The expectation is that you're good enough at those small details at this level. You're the best of four countries.
From the Lions to the Lionesses, and no warm-ups for them tonight. It's do or die against the Netherlands this afternoon. Here's Tash Dowie.
If England play the way they did against France, they're going home. You know, the Dutch are too good. They're in a really good moment. I think they've got some world-class players within the team. However, if it's the England that won the European Championships, then I think they win this game. So England at the moment have been very hit and miss. It's hard to tell which England's going to turn up, but normally after they lose a game, they respond really well, and I'm hoping that's the case tonight.
Our live coverage begins at 4 p.m. on talkSPORT, and it's crunch time at Wimbledon. Is Jannik Sinner fit enough to get past the pyrotechnic power of Ben Shelton and prove his worth as world number one? Here's Barry Cowan.
I haven't thought for Sinner the whole tournament. For me, it was a bit of a red flag when he got rid of his trainer and his physio just before the tournament. I thought that's a bit strange. I do see an Alcaraz Djokovic final. That's what it looks like in the men's.
As ever, there's more on talksport.com.
Everybody, busy morning, just gone at 11 o'clock on this Wednesday morning, Wednesday, July the 9th. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy. We're live in talkSPORT. As always, we're streaming live on YouTube and your smart TV. For all the information on how to watch the show, just head to talksport.com/watch. The man at the top of Red Bull Racing, Christian Horner, the chief executive, has parted company with Red Bull in the last few moments. We're going to find out more on that very shortly. But let's find out how the Lions are doing. The Lions tour down under continues this morning, and they've kicked off. It was an 11 o'clock kickoff, and you can hear full live commentary, exclusive commentary of Brumbies against the Lions over on talkSPORT 2. In fact, let's dip into it now and join Andrew McKenna and Ben Kay.
4 inches forward, pick and go around the edge. This time they get there. Opening score goes to the Brumbies. Just a pick and jam around the edge. Tuena Tuilima is the man who's got there, the number 8. 3.5 minutes on the watch. Well, if you've gone for a Lions try scorer for the first try, you've done your dough. But the Brumbies deserve their lead. Brumbies 5, Lions 0.
A brilliant start from the Brumbies. To be fair, the Lions' defence was strong, very, very strong, and that probably counted against them. They were desperate to get off and make big shots. So brilliant peel around the front from the Brumbies, put the Lions on their own line in trouble. They hit and will look like they were holding the Brumbies out. But then as Ollie Chesham steps in to make a big shot on Tuilima, Tuilima saw him coming, just held and hesitated, allowed him to step forward, and then stepped him back on the inside between Chesham and the breakdown, dives over the breakdown and dots the ball down.
The conversion from Ryan Lonergan is wide of the left-hand side as talkSPORT listeners join us here on talkSPORT 2. The Brumbies have just taken the lead 4 minutes into the game, and it's Johnny Tuilima, the number 8, who's got there for the Brumbies. They had a concerted period of play, and the Lions gave away a couple of penalties that enabled the Brumbies to set up camp, and they will come away with points. A 5-0 conversion missed, 5 minutes played. Ben Kay, in a weird kind of way.
Andrew, thank you very much indeed. Andrew McKenna and Ben Kay bringing us commentary, live and exclusive commentary of Brumbies against the Lions. And as you heard, the Brumbies have taken the game to the Lions and they lead early stages of that match, but they lead in Canberra. You can catch full live exclusive commentary of Brumbies versus the Lions over on talkSPORT 2. We'll update you as we go this morning on talkSPORT. We've been Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy. We broke the news we didn't actually break it. We're about to speak to the man who did. The fact that Christian Horner is out of Red Bull Racing, the chief exec, the man who knows his way around this sport, that is for sure. Let's find out more about why this has happened and what might happen next. The man who did break this story is Jack Martins, F1 journalist of Die Limburger. And Jack joins us live. Jack, good morning to you. When did you first find out about Horner going?
Good morning, guys. Well, there were some rumors in the last few days that this actually might happen. It was quite unbelievable when we found out in the first place, especially the moment when it's happening. I think not a lot of people were expecting this big bombshell.
And it is a bombshell for your sport, isn't it? Is it a mutual parting of the ways, or was he sacked?
I don't think it's mutual. He got sacked basically from the, let's say, the mother company from Austria, Red Bull GmbH. They made this decision, and as I said, I spoke to people this morning who were there when Christian really dropped the bomb. He was in front of, let's say, 1,000 people who work in Red Bull. It was quite emotional. People were crying. There was like 5 minutes of applause for him when he came on. Very emotional. It says a lot. He was very beloved in the team.
He was. So it begs the question, Jack, why is he gone?
Well, I think the results speak for themselves. I think they have the best driver that has ever driven a Formula One car. And if he's not able anymore to win races, that's a problem. And not only that, a lot of people has left the team in the last few years. Adrian Newey, Jonathan Wheatley, Rob Marshall. Those are big names and had a big influence in the team. As you can see now with McLaren, Rob Marshall is the main guy there. They built a phenomenal car, and I think Red Bull could have used him very well.
It's often been said that father of Max Verstappen, Jos Verstappen, is an extremely strong-minded, influential person himself. Was there a clash of personalities there?
I think there was a clash of personalities, definitely, yes. I think you're right. Jos is very influential. Jos is very directly and also very straightforward. You have to deal with that as well. You know, it's not the case with every driver that you have a father around who is that involved in the team. But with Jos, it was, yes.
So who really runs Red Bull? Was it Christian Horner, or is it Max Verstappen and his dad?
No, that's a fair question. I think it was Christian Horner, but there was a lot of influence from the Verstappens. And I think everything that happened now today, I don't think they would have done it when they had the feeling that Max Verstappen was leaving the team, because we also heard a lot of noise and rumors about maybe Max was heading to Mercedes next year. I think that's what my gut feeling tells me, that he has said to Red Bull, okay, I stay. And in return of that, they made this shock decision.
And it is a shock decision. I mean, it's rocked the sport this morning, Jack, and you're right across everything. It is a big announcement, Simon. Of that, there is no doubt. Stay with us, Jack.
But Jack, for the bigger question is, in your judgment, do you think this advances Red Bull's opportunity going forward or disadvantages them by losing Horner?
Time will tell, I think. You know what? If you, as a driver, and also there are also other people in the team, if you have the feeling that the way of direction is the wrong one, and let's say with all the people who are working there now, if you want to make a big change, then you have to start, I think, on top of the company, which is Christian Horner in this case. Because let's talk about Pierre Waché, for instance, technical director of Red Bull Racing. If you have the feeling that this is not the right guy at the right place, but Christian Horner does have the feeling he is, then you know what? There has to happen something at some point, and that happened now.
Would this have been a big surprise to Christian Horner? Would he have known the mood music? Would it have come out of the blue? It's a big surprise to the racing fraternity, perhaps, i.e. people looking in. But would it have been a surprise to him, do you think?
Well, I think so. What I find interesting is that he got full support last year from the Thai owner, which is called Shalem Jovica, because let's say a year ago, a little bit more than a year ago, the Austrian 50% of the company, 49 in this case, but let's say the Austrian people, they wanted to get rid of Christian Horner after everything came out with the harassment and with his female colleague and all that. But it was always the Thai owner who stood right behind him, who always got full support of him. So something has changed in the meantime. I don't know what it is so far, but something has changed, because still, if Jovica was there to support him, then he would stay. Then he would have been in the team for sure. Still.
So the king is dead. Long live the king. The people that are coming in now that are replacing him. What is that sort of going to change? Are going to be what sorts of personalities do we get coming in the door now, as opposed to what they had with Horner?
Well, the problem that the Austrians had with Christian is that he was a very powerful man. He gained a lot of power in the last 20 years. They didn't like that. So now they announced Laurent Mekies from Racing Bulls. Maybe they have the feeling with him that they have a little bit more control in the team now, which wasn't the case in the last few years.
He'll be sought after, will he not, Christian Horner? I mean by that, Jack, others will want him. So what do you think is likely to happen next?
I mean, Formula One loves Christian Horner, and Christian Horner loves Formula One. There's a lot going on in other teams as well. I'm talking about Alpine, for instance. Ferrari, he has been... there has been contacts with Christian Horner in the past with Ferrari. Ferrari isn't going well. So, yeah, I think we're going to see Christian Horner at some point, for sure, in Formula One. I mean, I'd love to see him back in Formula One. He's a real character, and there's not much left of them. There are not many around anymore. So, yeah, I would love to see Christian back.
And briefly, what's next for Max Verstappen? Does he stay put?
You know what? There was a lot of noise around him going to Mercedes. I think he stays. In an ideal world, he wants to end his career in Red Bull, the team that gave him the chance and the opportunity to go to Formula One in 2015. We'll see. Time will tell. Next year, we have new rules, new cars. It's going to be very interesting, I think.
You'll be all over that. Jack, thank you very much indeed. Jack Martins, F1 journalist with Die Limburger.
Nice guy.
Yeah, and he knows his stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say to him, do I think the other team principals are going to react with a sigh of relief or slight apprehension that he might be in situ for their jobs?
Yeah. You've always had an interest in this sport, haven't you? I mean,
to a degree, yeah. I owned a car magazine, didn't I? So I had a degree of interest in it. I'm not a great lover of F1 as a spectacle. I've been to Spa-Francorchamps, I've been to the British Grand Prix, and I've always found it a little bit... Okay, fantastic. But a lot of my friends, Italian friends, are so seeded in this and absolutely adore it. So yeah, I pay a passing interest in it.
Is it your cup of tea, Jim?
Not really, I have to say.
Well, Jim's got one of those little blue cars, isn't he?
I have to say. I keep a watchful eye on it, but I'm by no means any expert, nor would I pretend to be. But certainly it'll be interesting about the Drive to Survive series without Christian Horner, because he was a big part of that. We'll see what happens in the coming days. But Christian Horner, no longer the chief exec of Red Bull, they parted company, and we got the reaction there from the man who broke the story, the F1 journalist, Jack Martins. That's what we're all about. We're live in talkSPORT.
plays that villain role very well now. It's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
Qatar Airways Lions Tour update on talkSPORT with coverage sponsored by Tenorman. Tackling the taboo of male urine leakage head on. Find out more at tenorman.co.uk.
So the Lions tour down under in Australia continues this morning. Kickoff was 11 o'clock, so they're into this game. You can hear full live exclusive commentary of Brumbies versus the Lions over in talkSPORT 2, but let's dip into it. Alfie Reynolds over there for talkSPORT, and I think Alfie's about to tell us the Lions have roared back, have they?
They have, Jim. Yeah, good morning. 17 minutes gone here in Canberra. It's the ACT Brumbies 5, the British and Irish Lions 5. Tuani Tualima scored the opening try of the game after only 3 minutes. It was the perfect start for the Brumbies, but the Lions have just responded through Ollie Chesham. Their scrum absolutely monstered the Brumbies. Bundy Aki crashed through the centres, and then Chesham finished out wide. Up to that point, the Lions had actually looked pretty scrappy. As you say, commentary of the game is over on talkSPORT 2. It's the ACT Brumbies 5, the Lions 5.
Alfie, thanks very much. As Alfie says, we'll update you throughout the morning on the show as to how the Lions go. You'd hope they'll win this one. We shall see, but the easiest way to listen is by downloading the talkSPORT app, where you can swipe between talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2. From the Lions to the Lionesses, and it's a big night for them. England take on the Netherlands tonight in the Women's Euros. It's live on talkSPORT. talkSPORT's got the lot for you, not only in the field of rugby, but also in the women's football. And this is a very important match. They all are. But this has become super important for the Lionesses because it's played one, lost one thus far. They lost to the French in their opening game, and now they've got to try and improve on that. Courtney Sweetman-Kirk is over there in Switzerland for us as talkSPORT's England Euros reporter. Courtney, good morning. What kind of feeling are you getting from within the Lionesses camp this time around that they're ready for this and ready to turn things around?
Yeah, good morning, both. And you're right. I think there is that sense that they want to turn things around. I think Georgia Stanway in the press conference earlier on in the week sort of said it perfectly, summed it up in terms of, I don't want to talk, I'm finished talking, we want to play, we want to get on the pitch, we want to right the wrongs. And I think it's been a similar message, whether it's been Hannah Hampton or Alessia Russo that I've spoken to. I think they're very clear on what went wrong. They were very honest with themselves that they didn't stick to their game plan, they didn't execute it the way that they would have wanted to against France. I think they're now clear on what they need to do against the Netherlands and raring to go to right the wrongs. I think that's the best thing as a player in a major tournament format. Normally, obviously, in a league format, you've probably got to wait a week to play, whereas the games come thick and fast. So, yeah, the girls are ready and raring to go is the way that I've sensed it.
Courtney, are we expecting any changes in either personnel or tactics? What are you thinking?
I mean, I would like to see a few changes personally, but I think history tells us that Serena Wiegman doesn't change it too much. I think there's been a lot of talk around Jess Carter in that position, that left-back role. She was exposed quite badly, but my argument to that was that also came from higher up in the midfield. I think for me, the midfield looked a little bit tired, so I'd love to see someone like a Grace Clinton in there. I think she's got bags of energy. She's a bit of a feisty player. She's got some bite that we're going to need today because that sort of Netherlands midfield is also very much like that. So I'd love to see Grace Clinton in. And yeah, I don't know. I think there should be a few changes for me personally, but if going off, as I mentioned, history and the way Sarina Wiegman normally works, I don't think we'll see too many changes, but I could be wrong.
Courtney, what are the wrongs they need to right?
Well, I think sort of the first 20 minutes was fantastic, but after that, sort of the switch in mentality and how they let the momentum shift and the game get away from them, that needs to change for sure. And that speaks to, I think, a leadership on the pitch where we've got a lot of leadership, we've got a lot of experience on that pitch, but for me it was a bit quiet. Some of them looked a little bit lost. And in terms of obviously, you know, technical and tactical in terms of the gameplay, short, sloppy passes. After that first 20 minutes, sort of, you know, we kept getting caught out in midfield, in particular in terms of, obviously I mentioned Jess Carter, but, you know, as a whole team game, looking round and thinking, right, I need to help my teammate out. So whether that's the winger coming back and doubling up and helping in a 2v2, or whether the midfield shifts across, or making sure actually that you stop it at source. So, you know, there's a lot that needs to change, and I think the energy was something that I was quite surprised about, and that changed again in the last 10 minutes with the substitutes. But yeah, I think energy, application of the technical aspects, and obviously the application of the game plan, which both Sarina Wiegman and the players I've spoke to have all said it wasn't there in the way it should have been.
Was it fair, the criticism around the substitutions, them being late and maybe not acting quickly enough to halt the momentum that the French had? I know we've talked about that with Gareth for many tournaments now, but I heard some similar criticism around this situation as well.
Yeah, I would personally say so. Every manager's got their different ways of working, but for me, we're 2-0 down at half-time. The momentum's got away from us. I think the players on the pitch, as I mentioned, I think there was a lot of experience on the pitch that didn't do things to stop that momentum shift. So, yeah, the three that came on, I think it was Niamh Charles, Ella Toone and Chloe Kelly, that triple sub, I think that could have been made a lot earlier, personally. And the same when you see Michelle Agerman come on. She was fantastic. I think she had more shots than or touches in the opposition box than any England player all night. She was only on the pitch for about 6 minutes. So again, if you're looking at that thinking, right, if you brought her on with 10-15 minutes to go, what impact could she have made? So yeah, I personally would have made those substitutes earlier, but no, I'm not the England manager.
Not yet.
Courtney, interestingly, what are they about to come up against in the Dutch?
A very good team, I think, in terms of their fullback specifically, bags of pace. Kirsten Kasperai, that people that watch the WSL know, plays for Man City, and Esme Brooks as well. Young player, plays for Barcelona, but she is such a prospect. She is a world-class talent in my opinion. So yeah, they've got lots of pace, loves to get the fullbacks forward. We know everything about Vivian Miedema again. You know, she's a fantastic player, the way that she can make something out of nothing. And then the midfield for me, the likes of Jill Roord, a very, very combative. Daniela van der Donk, I've played against her now in the past, and she is horrible to play against. She's biting at the ankle, she's always there. So yeah, there's a mix of, I think they like to possess the ball a little bit more than France, and I think in forward areas they've not got necessarily the pace that France have got, but in the wide areas, and as I say, the fullbacks love to get forward, they've definitely got that sort of pace. So obviously you've seen against France that caused us a problem. I'm sure the Dutch will have looked at that and think that's an area they can exploit too.
Courtney, very briefly, and we'll finish on this, you concerned going into this?
I am, yeah, I must admit I am a little bit. I think coming into the game, yes, I think mathematically a draw will do us, but I think that leaves it a bit tough up until the last day. Obviously, as you'd prefer the win, but I'm coming into this game, and as I'm saying, the changes, some of the sort of stuff that I've seen in training, specifically after the match day, it was a bit sluggish, and for me, those are the players that you're trying to play your way into your team. They've just lost, and yeah, there's just a few moments around the camp at the minute that I'm just, as I say, slightly worried, especially the France game. Look, I appreciate that, you know, it might be a one-off. It might well be, but I think that middle part, in terms of the level of performance that we didn't show, I think that's slightly worrying. So, yeah, hopefully I'm wrong and I can go with my heart and say it's going to be a big England win tonight. But I think it's going to be really tough. And the Netherlands are maybe a team that I think people undervalue. It's going to be a real tough game tonight.
Courtney, thanks very much indeed. Courtney Suitman-Kirk, talkSPORT's England Euros reporter. Simon, here's the thing. Say they lose tonight, the Lionesses, and it goes on to become an early group stage exit. You have to ask the question, as the chief exec of the FA, Mark Bullingham, left himself any room for manoeuvre? Because before the tournament, he says, we're delighted Sarina is in place until 2027, Sarina Wiegman. I don't see any scenario changing that. We're locked in for this tournament and the next, and that feels very good.
Well, I mean, she's had two good tournaments, hasn't she? So,
Very good.
So you've got to give us some currency. And this tournament, I mean, their form going into this tournament was patchy. I mean, I thought Courtney was very frank there. I mean, a lot of time you can listen to reporters that are inside camps that don't speak quite as frankly as she did. So well done to her. Look, they've got to get a result this evening, but perhaps they see more in Serena Wegman than necessarily just one tournament. They've seen the 2 previous tournaments. I mean, you are allowed not always to be successful, but to go out in a group stage and to go out if they were to lose to the Netherlands today will be a seismic shock to them, because irrespective of when I was saying to Courtney a week ago, well, they're not going in with great. I mean, they beat the Jamaicans 7-0, right? But that they were cannon fodder. Prior to that, they'd had a mixed bag of results against the Belgians and so on and so forth. Yeah. This Dutch team that they're playing have just recently, before the tournament, got beaten 4-0 by Germany. So they're no great shakes. So there's the game's afoot, and they'll take care of the Welsh. So in all sense and purposes, I still think England will have a good chance of getting through.
Okay, let's see. They've got to turn it on tonight. England against the Netherlands tonight in the Women's Euros. It's live on talkSPORT.
After João Pedro's breathtaking double sent Chelsea to the Club World Cup final, the question arises, can this young side mount a serious title challenge if they're not too knackered? They were lacking in the department of leadership and maturity last campaign, and former defender Mario Melchiot says they'll need to find an answer.
You need someone that is consistently making sure that if things don't go the way it's supposed to be going, that he grabs you and say, let's go. It doesn't matter what, and that question is going to be tested.
Live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2 this morning, the biggest dress rehearsal for the test matches so far for the Lions as they take on the Brumbies. Gordon Darcy's told us the criticism they've faced for the lack of ruthlessness with ball in hand against the Waratahs is completely fair.
This isn't a test international team where you can spend time on the small details. The expectation is that you're good enough at those small details at this level. You're the best of 4 countries.
From the Lions to the Lionesses, and no warm-ups for them tonight. It's do or die against the Netherlands this afternoon. Here's Tash Dowie.
If England play the way they did against France, they're going home. You know, the Dutch are too good. They're in a really good moment. I think they've got some world-class players within the team.
And it's crunch time at Wimbledon. Is Yannick Sinner fit enough to get past the pyrotechnic power of Ben Shelton and prove his worth as world number 1? Here's Barry Cowan.
I haven't thought for Sinner the whole tournament. I do see an Alcaraz Djokovic final. That's what it looks like in the men's.
As ever, there's more on talksport.com.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
It's that time. We're joined by Lord Charlie Robertson from BetMGM. We'll look at a bunch of competitions and the odds round and about them. Charlie, good morning to you. Just gone, 11:30 this Wednesday morning, the Club World Cup. Chelsea have made it to the final. What's your thinking?
Morning, Jim. Morning, Simon. Morning, Danny.
Morning.
Yeah, after that win last night, Jim, Chelsea, obviously they were pretty impressive, weren't they? They're 7-4 to win the Club World Cup. PSG, the favourites, 8-5, and Real Madrid are 9-4. Just a quick look on tonight's game, Jim. The French club PSG, they're obviously the favourites, 11-8. Madrid, the slight outsiders, at 39-20, and the draw is 12-5. And I imagine plenty of eyes will be on Kylian Mbappe, given he's playing his former club. 17-5 to score first, and 59-50 to score any time against his former side. Danny, obviously, I think Chelsea, whoever they play in the final, will probably be underdogs. But if you were Enzo Maresca, who would you probably prefer to face? Would it be Madrid or PSG?
I think you'd have to say Madrid right now. PSG just look full of confidence. They've got everybody at it. Yeah, either would be a bit of a headache, let's be honest. But yeah, you'd want to avoid PSG for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And then, of course, closer to home, Wimbledon. What's your thinking on this one? Didn't work for Cam Norrie, did it? He got blown out of there.
It didn't, Jim. No. I'll mention the British interest in a second, Jim. But just quickly, we've got the four quarterfinals today: 2 men's, 2 women's, and I think obviously the big talking point is whether world number 1 Yannick Sinner will be fit. Obviously, he got that elbow injury in that game on Monday. If he is fit to play and is in the form that we know he can be, he's got a very good record against Ben Shelton and all the sort of 4 favourites today, Jim. That fourfold is 7-4, which I imagine plenty of punters will be quite keen on. And then, Jim, yeah, as you mentioned, no luck for Cam Norrie, but we have got a couple of pairs in the men's doubles. If both those can win today, we'll definitely have a Brit in a final at Wimbledon, which is always good. And that double is 49-20, Jim.
Are you still sticking with Sinner to go all the way and win it, Sam?
Well, I have my get out of jail card, don't I, now, because if he's injured and can't play and subsequently...
I think he'd be all right.
So do I. I mean,
he got away with one in the last game, didn't he?
Certainly did.
Yeah.
Certainly did. Yes, I am.
Yes,
I'm not for turning.
Although the young lad, Ben Shelton, I'm not that I've seen much of him before. God, he's dynamic, isn't he?
Terrific. Yeah.
Wow.
What personality as well.
Yeah.
Wonderful. The Scottish Open at beautiful North Berwick gets underway tomorrow. North Berwick, East Lothian. Used to go there on my holidays with my mum and dad and big sister. Yes.
On a horse and cart.
On a horse and cart many years ago. But those were the days. What are you thinking on that one?
Yeah, really strong field for the Scottish Open at Renaissance Club, as you mentioned, Jim, in North Berwick. Obviously, a week ahead of the Open. As is always these days, Scottish Shepherd the favourite at 9-2. Rory McIlroy 10-1. Tommy Fleetwood 18-1, and last year's winner and a favourite for all of us, Jim, Bob McIntyre 20-1. Danny, I've got a little bit of trivia for you here. I was having a look through the results of this tournament and the Open next week, and only one player has won both in the same year. I don't know if you can name who that is.
I can't, but that is not a good stat, is it, for those who are teeing up tomorrow?
I'll give you a clue. American in 2013, left-hander.
Mickelson.
Correct. Yeah. So I suppose based on that, Danny, players this week might be looking at sort of a top 10 as opposed to a win might be the sort of...
Yeah, I don't think they think that way. These top players just go out and try and win every tournament. It'd be fantastic to see McIntyre do it again. Yeah. And even Fitzpatrick's having a little upturn in form as well. So he could be an outside bet. What price is Fitzpatrick?
35-1, Danny Fitzpatrick.
Oh, that's a bit stingy.
Gorgeous. So what a part of the world, North Berwick, the Bass Rock, honestly gorgeous, beautiful.
Thing is with McIntyre as well,
Castle.
I know he's one.
Sorry, on you go.
No, but McIntyre, I know you like talking about him. He's one of your own. He's going to up it, isn't he? He's going to want to win it again. Being at home in front of his own fans.
Absolutely. Charlie, thank you very much indeed for that. What you didn't see out of shot was Simon holding up a sign there. Phil Mickelson, Danny. That's the name you're looking for. And Danny was straight in with it. No, Danny, well done. You're golfing.
You just told me off for interrupting you. You just did a Martin on me.
A Martin Keown? Oh, my God. Surely I haven't gone down that road.
You did.
Thanks to Charlie Robertson from BetMGM. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. Scottish Open at beautiful North Berwick tomorrow. Did I mention I used to go there on my holidays? 18 plus, begambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18 plus, gambleaware.org.
I think I saw somewhere that Anthony Alanga has arrived in the northeast. A medical, things well underway, and it's now a matter of time before Newcastle United announce that Anthony Alanga is their latest signing. Once of Manchester United, of late of Nottingham Forest, £55 million has changed hands. Danny, what does it represent? Is this a next level recruitment?
Yeah, I think they're looking forward. I mean, Jacob Murphy had the season of his life on the right-hand side. I mean, unbelievable. Newcastle fans will tell you how good he was. I think he surpassed everybody's expectation, filling that void last year. High in assists, but he's 30. They're looking for... They need strength in depth if they're playing Champions League football as well. Ilanga's dynamic. Can play on the counter. He can beat people. He can play both sides. He can play down the middle. He looks hungry. I think it's good business. Yeah, and no adaptation period for the Prem. He's used to it. He's been here a long time.
Yeah.
So I think that's good business.
Simon and I were debating what is next level for Newcastle. What is it?
Well, I think the last time they were really unlucky in the Champions League in that group of death. So getting through to the latter stages of the Champions League would be next level for them. And I think, but to have that consistency in the Premier League and the Champions League, you need a hell of a deep squad. And that's, we've seen it in recent seasons. If you think of the year City won it, the amount of players they used, the rotation. And that's why you've seen Liverpool go, right, bam.
Yeah.
We're gonna strengthen. We're gonna bring in more because you need it. You've got to be able to rotate and have that quality. So it'd be interesting to see what else happens in the transfer market with Newcastle, because although Ilanga's a super signing, I think they need more.
Yeah. It's understood they've held fresh talks. Alex Cook will bring us up today. Alex is on the way shortly. They've held fresh talks with the representatives of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. So he's a free agent. If he was to join, what does that give him?
Well, it gives them backup for Isak. And the problem with Calvert-Lewin, of course, is fitness, a bit like Callum Wilson. Bit younger than Callum, I think, so maybe that's why they're thinking that way. The problem you've got, any big club, bringing in a striker who you're basically saying you're not going to be first choice. There's only a certain level of striker you're going to get. I'm surprised at it because his record of injury is so bad. They're kind of replacing like for like. And I'd argue Callum Wilson's better than I think Callum Wilson's more of a goal threat and more all-round than Calvert-Lewin. I think he's more likely to get your goals if he's fit. So
yeah,
I'm surprised at it. But maybe it's where they are with the finances. I don't know their financial position, but you'd think they'd want somebody more reliable.
Are they able to spend a ton of money at the moment, Simon?
I don't think they've got huge problems. I think Eddie Howe was talking about it the other day. I don't know what the length and breadth of their PSR bandwidth is, but they were trying to buy Gehi last summer when they were under threats, and that was 70 million quid. So they've got some bandwidth. I'm not an admirer of Calvert-Lewin's. I think he's a decent player. I don't really understand the thinking behind it, because ultimately, and I agree with Danny, I think Callum Wilson is infinitely a better player and more of a goal threat. And if they've got a thought process about that, they're worried about his fitness, then surely they must have the same thinking about Calvert-Lewin.
And also, although I'm contradicting myself a little bit here, if you think outside the box a bit, there's lots of young talent out there who you might take a bit more, who you could mould and make better, because Eddie's a brilliant coach anyway. Even if you go for someone who's 21, 22 out a league in Europe, who's maybe not the biggest name in the world, or nick someone out of the Championship, whatever. I don't know. I'm surprised at it.
Okay.
I think the Newcastle fans might be a little bit underwhelmed by that.
Okay, neither done yet, but Anthony Elanga expected to be announced soon, going from Nottingham Forest to Newcastle United in a £55 million deal. Alex Cook will join us shortly. We're with you live in talkSPORT, courtesy of Selco, where the trade goes.
Plays that villain role very well now. That's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
player to watch on talkSPORT with coverage sponsored by Tenor Men. Show nothing but confidence this summer. Choose boxer shorts with built-in protection for drips and dribbles. Visit tenormen.co.uk today.
Now then, the Lions tour down under continues this morning. We're at half-time in Canberra, Australia. Brumbies versus the Lions. Live coverage on talkSPORT 2. Alfie Reynolds will bring us up to date. Alfie.
Jim, thank you. It's half-time here. ACT Brumbies 10, the Lions 19. The Lions continue to look unconvincing, but they lead. The scoreline in part looking a lot healthier because Marcus Smith scored a try with the final play of the opening half. Tuilima scored the opening try of the match after only 3 minutes. A blistering start for the Brumbies, but the Lions drew level through Ollie Chesham's try. James Lowe scored their second before Corey O'Toole struck back again for the home side, and then it was Smith that crossed late on. Having already lost the informed Thomas Williams and Elliot Daly on this tour, Blair Kinghorn was replaced midway through the half. That will be a big concern. Commentary of the second half will be on talkSPORT 2 at half-time. It's the ACT Brumbies 10, the Lions 19.
Alfie, thank you very much indeed. And remember, we'll update you throughout the show regards to second half and how that works out. The easiest way to listen is by downloading the talkSPORT app, where you can swipe between talkSPORT and talkSPORT 2. Over the last year, the FA has created a new rule that means all professional football clubs in England are required to publish their workforce diversity data biannually. The FA Rule N, came into effect this year, and it replaces the Football Leadership Diversity Code. So what is this new rule? The new FA rule, English leagues and clubs are required to provide full workforce data on age, sex, gender, ethnicity, disability, and sexual orientation within their organisation. In the Premier League, 78% of clubs' workforces are white, compared with an average of 66% amongst the local populations. Now, Kick It Out have called for a moral case for change, as it finds staffs within football clubs in England do not reflect the ethnic makeup of their local communities. Kick It Out Chief Executive is Samuel Okafor. Samuel, good morning, what's left of it. Good morning to you. You've called for a moral case for change. Do you want to explain more on that?
Look, thank you for having us. I think I called for a moral, and also there's also a commercial case, and no doubt there's be a legal case for change. I think what we've seen on the 1st of June was all 92 clubs publishing their workforce data, which is the first time that football clubs have published their data out in the public domain, which is absolutely superb, which is really good news. Now, we know the data isn't perfect. We know that there is still a high number of prefer not to say, where people don't feel comfortable with disclosing their representation, which we accept. But we believe that this is a really positive step in terms of improving the overall transparency, which we've been calling for over a number of years. We know that when you look at the data, you can clearly see that there are, groups where there is underrepresentation. So when you look from a women perspective, you can see there's a challenge of representation when we look at coaching roles and senior coaching roles, whether that's senior roles in the board and in clubs as well. We see that from an ethnically diverse perspective as well. We can only see 2 clubs in the PL that have got a representation from in terms of ethnicity perspective as well. And there are other groups where you can see through the data there's a real challenge in terms of representation. So we believe that, it's a positive step forward in terms of improving transparency. And we know that research tells us very clearly that, where you have better representation, you make better decisions, you engage with your fans better, you engage with the people that you serve better as well.
Yeah.
And we know that, clearly that this is a topic that's at the heart of fans as well.
So Samuel, what do you want transparency to lead to?
Better representation. I think it's important that transparency leads to better representation, and better representation at board levels, at coaching levels, at senior levels means you make better decisions.
And how do you achieve that?
I think there's a number of ways you look at achieving that. And I think it's important that, you can look at recruitment practices and the practices that you have today. I think you can look at different pathways in doing that. In some cases, I think you can look at targets as well. And it's important to differentiate quotas and targets. I think that's really important as well. But I think there are, there's enough research out there that tells you that the better representative that you are as a club, the better you can perform and run your organisation.
Simon and Danny are with me. Simon, you were top of the house at Crystal Palace. Did you ever have to provide diversity data about your club?
No, I didn't. I wouldn't have had any problem doing it because my employment criteria was about best in class and meritocracy. My key questions about lack of representation are, why is there lack of representation? I think the driving force about employment should be the best in class. I'm interested to see the nuance and context behind. One thing is workforce evaluation, another thing is about recruitment policies. And ultimately, whilst I'm a great believer in equal opportunity, I'm not a great believer in equal outcome. I'm not a great believer in representation for representation's sake. I believe that the best in class are the best in class. Being somebody that employed females in management positions, in board positions, being somebody that had huge parts of his academy with black and minority ethnic coaches, with my first team coach being black. I never made an appointment for thousands and thousands of employees, whether it was in commercial businesses or in football businesses, that wasn't driven by merit. And if indeed merit is making these appointments, and unfortunately the ethnicities or the sexes aren't being represented, then we have to look at the reasons why these people aren't best in class and aren't getting their opportunities.
So Samuel, what is the difference between targets and quotas?
So quotas are where you're in essence you're insisting. Targets are in essence your aspiration in terms of where you want to get to. I think there's a difference there. In terms of Simon's point, in terms of best in class, I think we all agree in terms of meritocracy. I think that's where we have our shared agreement in terms of we agree in meritocracy. Everybody wants to ensure that the right person gets the job. There's no point in giving someone a job that doesn't have the skill set. It will impact the rest of the organisation. But I think what you can clearly see today, and where the data enables you to challenge is, are the best people getting the job? Is the pool of people and candidates being looked at when a job comes up?
But do you have that data, Samuel? Because it's one thing evaluating the demographics of a workforce and then looking beyond that to see the length of the employment, see how long people have been in jobs and so on and so forth. The next thing is to dig deeper and understand ultimately what the recruitment process, because the Rooney Rule was about bringing in a recruitment process that gave a wider berth to a whole raft of different people looking for a job. Then on afterwards, that data needs to be dug into. And we've got to look at, when we look at diversity, do Jewish people count as diversity part of an equation? Do people with ADHD? We can go on and on and on talking about how people aren't included, but we've got to get to the reasons why. And if the reasons are, as a person that doesn't relate to not employing the best in class, I employed people, and I believe a lot of my counterparts in football employed people based upon who was applying for the job and how good they were. And delving into that data and understanding why representation isn't coming through is as important as understanding that it isn't represented.
Well, I agree with you that this is the first level of the data you've got in terms of the workforce representation. I think that's really important to have this level of data. I think the next level of data is to understand, to your point, is to understand the reasons why. As in, what does the recruitment journey look like? How many people applied? Why didn't they apply? What's the reasons that they didn't apply? And if they did, what's stopping them from being unsuccessful in role? Because we know the talent pool is there. So I think what we've seen today, what came out on the 1st of June, shows us a really good baseline in terms of the workforce diversity. I think the next level of detail is now understanding what's playing out in the system, Simon, that's producing the results that we're seeing today.
How difficult?
I would argue.
Go on, sorry.
Here's Danny. On you go, Dan.
Samuel, I was just going to ask, how difficult is it, though, to do that? Because I agree with you. I mean, it sounds like exactly what we need to really delve deep into these, into the reasons and stuff. But is it finances? Is it just manpower to actually get to the bottom of it? Is it people agreeing to be involved in that research?
So I think it's having the systems in place to do that, to ensure that, Danny, if you applied for a job, that we can actually capture your data and then we produce a research off the back of it. I think it's having the systems and the capabilities in place to be able to do that. But I think it is very much needed in terms of getting to that next level of detail and to understanding what's playing out within the system, because I would argue that meritocracy isn't playing out within the system, but we need to do that level of detail to really back that up.
but we don't really know that. I mean, one of the things I'm worried about with targets is targets are often a wolf in sheep's clothing, because whilst no one wants to use the word quota, because quota is easily pushed back against. The moment you build quota, you're going to have resistance. Targets, if then targets are put in place and they're not achieved and no nuance is given to those targets, then targets are used as whipping boys to suggest that people aren't getting the representation right. So targets, with due respect, whilst it's nicely couched in language that Samuel used about the fact that we don't want it as a quota, it is the benchmark that's looking to be achieved. And if it isn't achieved, then it becomes almost a hostage to fortune, and then quotas become the next thing.
Is Simon right about that? When you say targets, are you really meaning quotas, Samuel?
No, I mean targets as I've described them earlier on. I think they're an aspiration to reflect a certain community that you serve, and I think they're the right thing. They're the right aspirations to achieve, and I think understanding what are the barriers that are stopping you to achieving that is what each club should be delving into and be going into. So my articulation of targets is as I've described them, and I think having the right pathways, the right recruitment processes that enable you to achieve that, I think is the right thing to do.
Do you think all clubs are on board with this, Samuel?
Well, I think every club will be at a different stage, and you can see that through some of the data. You can see that every club is on its own journey when it comes to workforce representation. You can also see that within the data that there's a number of clubs where the prefer not to say is quite high, and you would argue there, is there a cultural thing where people are not disclosing their data? So you can see that, just looking through your data, you can see that every club is at a different stage of its overall journey.
That's unhelpful, though, isn't it? I mean, shouldn't there be some sort of obligation to give that data?
Yeah, it's what the challenge is. I can't see any reason
why I
wouldn't, right? Because I would be comfortable in my recruitment processes, and if I have an underrepresentation, it won't be because I have not or allowed a recruitment process from whichever level of management is employing.
Well, maybe that's not the case with some of these clubs.
But the other side of things is that we are in the eye of a storm with people suggesting that if you haven't made these appointments from certain communities or certain sexes, then actually you're not doing what you should be doing. That then becomes a hostage where you're judged by that, and actually there might be a lot of nuance and a lot of context. I'm very interested to evaluate what the interviewing process is and how many candidates are coming from various communities, and then start pushing it. So if you've got no representation from certain communities coming forward, the next question is how much of it is the job of the football club or the employer to encourage those communities to come forward, because the communities have to take responsibility for themselves.
Yeah. We want to thank Samuel Okafor, the Chief Executive of Kick It Out. The Lions are winning down under. They're up against the Brumbies. It's half-time. Live commentary on talkSPORT 2. We're back after this 12 noon break.
After João Pedro's breathtaking double sent Chelsea to the Club World Cup final, the question arises, can this young side mount a serious title challenge if they're not too knackered? They were lacking in the department of leadership and maturity last campaign, and former defender Mario Melchiot says they'll need to find an answer.
You need someone that is consistently making sure that if things don't go the way it's supposed to be going, he grabs you and say, let's go. It doesn't matter what, and that question is going to be tested.
Live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2 this morning, the biggest dress rehearsal for the test matches so far for the Lions as they take on the Brumbies. Gordon Darcy's told us the criticism they've faced for the lack of ruthlessness with ball in hand against the Waratahs is completely fair.
You've got Gibson Park, you've got Finn Russell, mentioned Blair Kinghorn, Jack Conan, Mario Toje. These guys, your expectation for them is that they make better decisions in those scoring opportunities. This isn't a test international team where you can spend time on the small details. The expectation is that you're good enough at those small details at this level. You're the best of four countries.
From the Lions to the Lionesses, and no warm-ups for them tonight. It's do or die against the Netherlands this afternoon. Here's Tash Dowie.
If England play the way they did against France, they're going home. You know, the Dutch are too good. They're in a really good moment. I think they've got some world-class players within the team. However, if it's the England that won the European Championships, then I think they win this game. So England at the moment have been very hit and miss. It's hard to tell which England's going to turn up, but normally after they lose a game, they respond really well, and I'm hoping that's the case tonight.
Our live coverage begins at 4 p.m. on talkSPORT, and it's crunch time at Wimbledon. Is Jannik Sinner fit enough to get past the pyrotechnic power of Ben Shelton and prove his worth as world number one? Here's Barry Cowan.
I haven't thought for Sinner the whole tournament. For me, it was a bit of a red flag when he got rid of his trainer and his physio just before the tournament. I thought that's a bit strange. I do see an Alcaraz Djokovic final. That's what it looks like in the men's.
As ever, there's more on talksport.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. A lot to get in our final part today. It's Jim White, it's Simon Jordan, and it's Danny Murphy, and we are live on talkSPORT. Danny being with us, of course, as this is a Wednesday, and we are racing through the month of July. We better get a bend on. A lot to get through in the final hour today, not least Turnberry. Is it going to be hosting the British Open anytime soon? If Donald Trump has his way, you bet it will. We'll get to that in a second with talkSPORT's golf reporter, who is Rupert Bell. In the meantime, the Lions tour down under continues. The Brumbies up against the Lions as we build up to the first test. And, of course, all of these games live on the talkSPORT network. This is live at the moment on talkSPORT 2. Let's dip into it. Brumbies against the Lions. The Lions are winning 19-10. Here's Andrew McKenna and Ben Kay.
And just gets it away. And now Jameson
he's
gives
got his
him
arms up. You know the laws better than him, Macca. The ball clearly on the line.
Well, as talkSPORT listeners join us at the start of the second half, the Lions are leading by 9, but they're dodging bullets left, right and centre at the moment. Jameson Gibson Park just got himself into a right old tangle on the goal line, and it means the Brumbies have a line out in the 22. But they've committed a line-out offence where the player who's not supposed to be in the line-out comes into it too early, and therefore it is a free kick to the Lions. 3 minutes of the second half gone. Lions still lead 19-10, Ben Kay.
It's just a timing issue there from the Brumbies, but it gives the Lions a clearance opportunity and the put into the line out on the halfway. It's Rory Scott who was the receiver. He has to wait until the ball's thrown before he can enter to lift, and he just gets his timing wrong and almost ambles into the line out first. It is actually a Brumbies throw on the halfway. It was only a free kick.
Well, it was scrappy in the first half. The Lions still managed to run in 3 tries. It's been scrappy at the start of the second.
Scrappy or not, the Lions are in the driving seat, 19-10 as it stands, and we're about 44 minutes into the match itself. Live commentary with Andrew and Ben Kay on talkSPORT 2. Let's have a change of sport with Danny and Simon here in studio with me, and let's go from rugby to golf. In recent weeks, it's been reported that senior Whitehall officials have asked golf authorities at the R&A, the Royal and Ancient, whether or not they can host the 2028 Open Championship at Donald Trump's Turnberry. Turnberry, of course, near enough to Glasgow, pretty near to Prestwick and Prestwick Airport, that sort of area, of course, not far from Troon. Now, the R&A previously said that it would not host the tournament at Turnberry in the wake of the January 6 attack by Trump supporters on the capital in 2021. Is it going to change anytime soon? We know that last November, the then head of the organisation said he did not want media noise detracting from the game. Nonetheless, it is known that it's President Trump's wish that the Open is staged at the Turnberry course, possibly in 2028. So how powerful a card should golf become when it comes to UK-US relationships? Rupert Bell is talkSPORT's golf reporter, and he joins us live. Rupert, what's in this? Good afternoon to you. Are we going to see the Open anytime soon at Turnberry?
No, I don't think we are. I think there are economic reasons. Now, Trump can bleat all he likes. The one thing about Turnberry, let's not forget, it is an amazing golf course and has had some amazing opens. Last time it staged it was back in 2009. Trump taken over the ownership, and of course he'd like it, but because it's a hugely commercial venture. And so he's, while he may be the president, I'm sure he's looking at it as also a promotional tool for Turnberry. Now, we know it's a brilliant golf course, but the one problem it has is that it has, when they staged it in 2009, there were only 120,000 people over the week. Now, next week at Portrush, 278,000 people will be attending. Now, the Open has grown, but Turnberry has logistical issues. Yes, it's on the west coast of Scotland, but it's further south. It's not as easy to get to as some of the other ones. Getting to Troon, you can hop a train within 20 minutes and get there from Glasgow. Turnberry has an added logistical dilemma, and for the R&A. And yes, they may think it would be wonderful to stage there, but ultimately the R&A need to see the Open as the big cash cow for the sport, and that's why it's gone to Portrush within 6 years of it last being staged there. When you think the normal turnaround, apart from St Andrews, where they try and do it every 5 years, is probably 8 or 9 years between venues.
But of course, Rupert, we know it would be a handy bit of currency for the UK government to grant Trump his wish and stage it at Turnberry.
But it's not the UK's government's decision what they do with the Open Championship. There is a European Tour event being played in August at a Trump course in Scotland, so he does get some events being played on his land. Live Golf play some of their events on his golf courses in the States, so he does have the chance for staging events. But the R&A and the Open, that's a big and a very different beast to the run-of-the-mill tournaments. And the R&A will try and say, look, we have to do what's in the best interest of the sport. And in 2028, that would presumably be the last year of his presidency. There would be huge political sort of hoo-ha around the event. And as was said last year, the R&A aren't interested in it becoming a sort of political vehicle for President Trump, because no doubt he'd want to turn up, and that would add logistical dilemmas to the whole event as well. So I'm not expecting to see the Trump at Turnberry being announced as the 2028 venue. And we may hear where it will be played next week at an R&A press conference next Wednesday, which is what they traditionally have on the day before the Open. So we may get an idea of where the venue will be in 2028.
Simon, I mentioned earlier the R&A previously said it wouldn't host the tournament at Turnberry in the wake of the January 6 attack by Trump supporters on the capital in 2021. But we've also seen UK sport used for soft power before.
Sure.
Might this happen again?
I mean, they've not helped themselves. I mean, the argument could be and should be that the argument that Rupert lays out, that it logistically doesn't work, rather than involving themselves in a slightly pompous, pious observation about what's happening in other parts of the world. So if it's entirely a case of the commercial logistics of organising the Open at Turnberry doesn't work, that's the end of the discussion, I suspect. And if other people want to make it about other things, and they made it about other things themselves.
You would think they could sort the logistics in 3 years.
Well, but I mean, Rupert, unless I'm misunderstanding what Rupert is saying, that it's not easy to resolve that. If you can get 278,000 people at one tournament and only 120,000 at this tournament, the economics tell you the answer to that question.
Well, I mean, Rupert, you can bet your bottom dollar, literally, that Trump will exert pressure on the UK government from now on in.
Yes, but it's not. That's then yes, and then go to the RNA. But it would need an improvement in the infrastructure. Well, that's got to be something that the Scottish government have got to do. It's not without its complications. And the fact is the RNA want venues that are lucrative in terms of attendance. We're going to Birkdale next year. That will be huge. There are already tickets going on sale, and I imagine that also might be a sellout. We were at Hoylake recently, and last year at Troon. Enormous crowd numbers, but it's the way you can manage them. And Turnberry is a bit out on the limb, and that's its problem, and it needs a major overhaul. So I'm not expecting it to happen anytime soon, despite the fact that it is probably the best golf course in many people's ideas on the rota and has been improved even more. So that is one thing. From a purist point of view, probably the best golf course. But in terms of the RNA's big picture, it's not the ideal venue, and they certainly don't want all the hoo-ha around President Trump coming over here and exerting his own kind of power on it. And it's up to the RNA, and I'm sure they are quite capable of ploughing their own furrow. They are an organisation that is, occasionally a bit slow to react at times, but they do, certainly in terms of the Open, they've transformed it in recent years.
Rupert, thank you very much indeed. Rupert Bell with us there.
We shouldn't want UK government anywhere near our sporting events, and I'm not entirely sure what political motivations Trump might have in 28, because he'll be outgoing president at that time, and he can't have another tenure, can he, unless he's going to change the Constitution of America, which you wouldn't put past him. I mean, I think ultimately, if the golf course is the best golf course of its kind, the balancing act is: do you want the most merit-based competition for the participants, or do you want the one that facilitates the most commercial outcomes for the viewers? And there's a balancing act. I mean, the fact they've opened their traps and been pious about why they didn't want him in the first place has made them a hostage to fortune. So people are saying, if they'd have said in the first place, we're not having it at Turnberry because it doesn't work, and it doesn't work for these reasons.
Oh, it's worked in the past.
It's a shame the RNA are so like.
Yeah, but golf has changed and evolved, and the monetisation of golf has become more critical.
But it's a shame, though, isn't it? Because the RNA are basing a decision like FIFA, I suppose, if you like, on hosting tournaments where the biggest paydays there, which is, and as you say,
that's the commercial reality of sport now.
I know, but if the course is as wonderful as everyone says it is, I unfortunately haven't been there. I'd love to. If it's that amazing and iconic, surely the golf is relevant.
Yeah,
Doesn't seem to be, does it?
Well, I mean, it's staged it in the past, and there have been many memorable moments at Turnberry.
It hasn't staged it for nearly 20 years now, though, has it?
But you have to think, Simon, if Trump leans on the UK government and says this might just help trade negotiations, etc., etc.
The government don't have
But I mean, again, with respect, I mean, he'll be outgoing president in 28, won't he? But yes, in between now and then, I mean, we've seen it. We saw the correspondence or the paper saw the correspondence to Boris Johnson from the Saudi government about the inability to have the PIF take over of Newcastle.
Exactly.
So we know that these things happen, and we know that sport is being utilised for soft power.
Yeah.
And that's why it's very important, with things like independent regulators and ridiculous propositions from politicians undermining the fabric of sport by suggesting that games should be given free to air without any commercial value to it.
Yeah.
But you start to turn what is a Harrods into a Woolworths, which is what will happen to our league if they keep on not thinking in joined up ways.
Okay. Sorry, Dan.
I was going to say Woolworths doesn't exist anymore.
That's exactly my point.
I know. More's the pity, Danny.
That's what
we had to go somewhere else for your pyjamas.
Never out of Woolworths. Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes.
He plays that villain role very well now. It's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
Qatar Airways Lions Tour update on talkSPORT with coverage sponsored by Tenor Man. Understanding the facts about urine leakage can help you manage it better. Find out more at tenorman.co.uk.
Down under in Canberra, just over 20 minutes to go in the match between the Brumbies and the Lions. Commentary on talkSPORT 2. Let's bring you up to date now with what the current situation is. Here's Alfie Reynolds. Alfie.
ACT Brumbies 17, British and Irish Lions 26 with 56 minutes played. The Lions lead thanks to 3 first-half tries through Ollie Chesham, James Lowe and Marcus Smith. Gary Ringrose has scored their 4th in this second half, a brilliant first phase move where Smith put a little kick through. Smith is on, by the way, because Kinghorn was injured in the first half, but it's still relatively close. Hudson Crichton has scored the Brumbies' 3rd try. It was way too easy from a Lions point of view. Commentary of the game is over on talkSPORT 2. The score at the moment, the ACT Brumbies 17, the Lions 26.
Alfie, thank you very much indeed. talkSPORT's chief football correspondent is the overworked but extremely well paid. No, I don't know that. Alex Crook joins us live this Wednesday lunchtime. Alex, a lot going on, mate, and I know you're all over it. Simon's with me, so too is Danny. Shall we start with the latest on the vacant Leicester manager's job? Talk of Chris Wilder, talk of Gary O'Neill. Who's leading the way?
Well, you talk about overpaid. Looks like Marty Cifuentes, once of Queen's Park Rangers, is now the front runner for that job, and I think salary demands come into play. I don't think Leicester have the biggest budget in the Championship by any means this summer, and maybe that's putting off some of those bigger name, more experienced managers that you've spoken about. It's a complicated situation when it comes to Cifuentes, because you may remember towards the back end of last season, Queen's Park Rangers put him on gardening leave when he was flirting with West Bromwich Albion. Ultimately, they went for Ryan Mason instead. And in order to appoint Cifuentes, there will be compensation due to QPR. I was told yesterday that Cifuentes is willing to dig into his own pocket to pay at least part of that compensation. Now, he can't do that direct. It would have to come from Leicester City should they want to appoint Cifuentes, but there isn't anything stopping Cifuentes making a contribution to Leicester. So I say this one is complicated, but it does appear like Cifuentes is a front runner, if not the front runner now. And you can understand why Leicester are attracted to him. I think he plays the type of football they want to bring in. He's willing to work with a young team, and I think Leicester are going to have to do that. Dip into some of their young players because, as I say, PSR-wise, they're not in a great position. And, of course, there's still this threat of a points deduction from the EFL hanging over their heads.
Been an interesting turn of events, that Simon.
And he's a disloyal rodent.
Say again?
And he's a disloyal rodent.
A rodent?
Yeah, that's no way to talk about Crookie.
I'm not talking about Crookie. Crookie is no way would I compare Crookie to a rodent. It might be some other animal I compared him to,
but not a rodent. Why is he a disloyal rodent?
Because if you're at Queen's Park Rangers and you're batting your eyelids at other people and wanting to get out the door and creating situations like that, then you are having an element of disloyalty about you, don't you? Hence the reasons why he was put into a situation where he was consequenced by QPR. So you have to price that into the equation. I mean, if indeed he's going to make a contribution towards it, I imagine they'll pay him less of a salary. So rather than him having to pony up any money, it'll be taken out of his upside, which is the salary he'll be getting at Leicester if indeed they want him.
I mean, how many managers could you put in that category then, who bat their eyes at other clubs in the hope that they turn their attention to them?
I don't know. I would hope not as many as you would like me to imagine. But I do think it's disrespectful. I think that, I thought that's the reasons why I had issues with Marco Silva. That's why I had the issues that I did at the time with Gary Rowett, because I think there's a way to operate. Of course, when you've done wonderful things and you've been there for a long period of time and you've earned the currency and you've got your stripes and you really have done so, like Thomas Frank, no one would say that Thomas Frank, being available, having an ear for Tottenham, was anything other than the fact that he'd done his job at Brentford, there was an opportunity and everyone leaves amicably. When you don't do that and you disrespect those that have given you an opportunity and you show disloyalty, hence the reason why you get my reaction.
Okay. I hope Senior Cifuentes
That's what he deserves.
isn't too dejected to have heard himself described as that this lunchtime. Alex, what about Jamie Vardy? Is there talk about Vardy linked to Manchester United?
Well, I think just about every number 9 out there is being linked to Manchester United at the moment. Obviously, Vardy is one of a number of free agents tried and tested in the Premier League. Callum Wilson falls into that category, and so too does Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But there's nothing that's been suggested to me to say that Vardy is anywhere near close joining Manchester United. Listen, he's been a great player in the Premier League. I think his story is Hollywood stuff, really, but clearly his best days are behind him. Manchester United do need a number 9. They need an upgrade on Rasmus Højlund, but I'm not sure that many Manchester United fans would see a veteran Jamie Vardy as being that upgrade. He does want to stay in the Premier League, and I'm sure he can still do a job, but is he really going to propel United back to where they want to be? I'm not convinced.
Vardy and Man U, Danny?
No.
No. Danny, thanks for that. What about Napoli and Darwin Nunes? Is this somewhat more realistic?
I think so. Obviously, Liverpool have been one of the big spenders in this summer transfer window so far, but we know with FSG that when money is invested in terms of incomings, there's going to need to be outgoings as well. And Darwin Nunes, I think, is a player who's definitely available for transfer. There was talk of Saudi Arabia, and I know that he has big interest from the Pro League, but I think he'd rather play his trade in one of the top European leagues. Napoli obviously looking to part company with Victor Osimhen, probably to Galatasaray, though I still wouldn't completely rule out Premier League interest in him. And I think once that deal does go through, then they will step up their attempts to sign Darwin Nunes. And by all accounts, this is a move the player is quite keen on. And I can see him doing well there. Just because you underperform in the Premier League, it doesn't automatically make you a bad player. And maybe someone like Nunes would just be more suited to the pace of the game in Italy.
Alex has got a point there, but it hasn't quite worked for him at Liverpool, has it?
No, sometimes that happens, but I agree with him. I think we've seen it before. Players going over to Italy and having a resurgence. He's so athletic, he's game, and if he's in a team that's, they're champions, aren't they? So they dominate a lot of games. He's got potential to do better than he's done.
We know the who's who in the lineup, don't we?
Yeah.
With if he ends up there, and Billy Gilmore's there, and Scott McTominay's there, maybe if reports are to be believed.
Well, he's got
Jack Grealish might end up there.
I think the other thing as well with him is he's obviously got a point to prove still.
Yeah. What about Manchester City's James McAtee in the news this lunchtime? But why, Alex?
Yeah, interest in him from the Premier League. I think West Ham certainly are one of his suitors, although, again, they need to get players out before they can get players in. Obviously, a lot of talk about Spurs and Mohamed Kudus, and I think West Ham do need that transfer to go through, or certainly to get decent money for Mohamed Kudus in order to give Graham Potter funds to rebuild the squad. But I wouldn't rule out a move abroad for James McAtee either. RB Leipzig mentioned to me in the last 24 hours as being potential suitors for him, and maybe he's a slightly cheaper option than, say, Harvey Elliott at Liverpool, who also is on Leipzig's list of potential signings this summer. I think McAtee is frustrated that he didn't get the minutes that he would have wanted at the end of last season. He sees that Manchester City are bringing in reinforcements in midfield, and I think he feels like his pathway to the first team may well be blocked.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Alex Crook with us this Wednesday lunchtime as the transfer market goes into full swing. The Lions in full swing at the moment. They've just extended their lead over the Brumbies down under. 29-17 they lead with less than 20 minutes to go. It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Danny Murphy live in talkSPORT with Selco where the trade goes.
After João Pedro's breathtaking double sent Chelsea to the Club World Cup final, the question arises, can this young side mount a serious title challenge if they're not too knackered? They were lacking in the department of leadership and maturity last campaign, and former defender Mario Melchiot says they'll need to find an answer.
You need someone that is consistently making sure that if things don't go the way it's supposed to be going, that he grabs you and say, let's go. It doesn't matter what, and that question is going to be tested.
Live and exclusive on talkSPORT 2 this morning, the biggest dress rehearsal for the test matches so far for the Lions as they take on the Brumbies. Gordon Darcy's told us the criticism they've faced for the lack of ruthlessness with ball in hand against the Waratahs is completely fair.
This isn't a test international team where you can spend time on the small details. The expectation is that you're good enough at those small details at this level. You're the best of four countries.
From the Lions to the Lionesses, and no warm-ups for them tonight. It's do or die against the Netherlands this afternoon. Here's Tash Dowie.
If England play the way they did against France, they're going home. You know, the Dutch are too good. They're in a really good moment. I think they've got some world-class players within the team.
And it's crunch time at Wimbledon. Is Yannick Sinner fit enough to get past the pyrotechnic power of Ben Shelton and prove his worth as world number one? Here's Barry Cowan.
I haven't thought for Sinner the whole tournament. I do see an Alcaraz Djokovic final. That's what it looks like in the men's.
As ever, there's more on talksport.com.
The Lions powering through against the Brumbies, 29-17. The score just over 10 minutes to go, and they're looking good for a win, as you might expect. Live commentary on talkSPORT 2. We move on, and another change of sport, and you won't be surprised to hear boxing. And we do a lot of boxing on this show, literally. We're almost doing it ourselves the other day with Martin Kieran, but that's another story. Just last week, this time last week, talkSPORT brought you live boxing from Turkey, where Liverpool's Jazza Dickens won the IBA Pro Super Featherweight title via a fourth round knockout over an opponent by the name of Albert Batigaziev. Now, it could be argued that there were more people of note outside the ring attending the event than there were in the ring. Tyson Fury was there, Terence Crawford was there, Conor Benn was there, Derek Chisora was there. They were all there. It was an IBA event, and the IBA historically has always been amateur, but now under new management, they've created a pro association. IBA Pro claims that they will represent a new era of professional boxing. So what's it all about? The IBA Pro Chief Executive is Al Siesta, and Al joins us live in the show. Al, good afternoon to you. For anyone who doesn't know, what is IBA Pro all about?
James, Simon, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you, Al.
Hello from the secret location.
A secret location, okay. Why is it secret?
It's a very obscure location between Japan and Norway somewhere. Yeah.
Okay.
Guys, thank you ever so much. First of all, pleased to meet you. It's a pleasure to be on your program. Fantastic. It's been a long time coming. And I'll use this opportunity to introduce IBA Pro. As you pointed out earlier, it's a new organization. It's a championship, it's a promotion company and the media company in one. Obviously, the blueprint came from UFC. We're not claiming to be a serious, big governing body, but we are a championship with an extensive expertise and experience in boxing, including amateur. And obviously, with my appointment, I've been working in the UK for a long time. I've been living in the UK for 30 years, been involved in boxing for the last 15. We have all necessary tools to manage this appropriately. So it's a new era, new organization that will try to promote and introduce to the world the new up-and-coming talent from all over the globe, without limiting ourselves geographically.
But Al, what makes it different from all the other bodies?
We're paying money. Other bodies collecting the money, like sanctioning fees for the titles and so on and so forth. We're actually supporting them. It's a bit like Real Madrid. We have early development from the academies, from the amateur boxing, and exquisite talent. We take it right to the top, obviously, if they would like to continue their careers. So it's an all entire journey for the boxer to start from scratch. That first time he lays the gloves in the boxing gym at the age of 11, 15, right until the farewell fight when they're 35, 40. It sounds a bit like a dream, obscure sci-fi, but that's what we're trying to do. That's our endeavors are.
I mean, you talk about IBA Pro being dedicated to competitive matchmaking with fair and balanced judging.
Absolutely.
How on earth, Al, have you gone about ensuring that?
Listen, because we have our referees and judges, extensive training and so on and so forth, working with the governing bodies, because, you know, general public, when they judge boxing, sometimes they do much better than the actual professional judges. There's a reason for it. I don't want to voice my opinion on that because I don't want to be prejudiced against something like this, but I'm sure people can see the winner or the loser of the event. So we will make sure it's an extensive. I mean, everyone got their ideas how to judge the contest, but I think it's obvious. I mean, the passivity, the activity, the clinching, the low blows, and so on and so forth, and the home corner advantage, all will be taken away with our system. It will be difficult, but everything good is difficult.
What do you make of what Al and IBA Pro is trying to achieve?
I was going to ask Al, I mean, how does it sit into the framework and landscape of the alphabet city that is boxing? You've got WBA, WBO, WBC, IBF, WBO, IBO. You've got Turkey Al Sheikh with the Ring magazine and a whole raft of different things going on there. How do you differentiate yourself within that framework? I know you're not a sanctioning body. I know you're not necessarily ultimately looking at sanctioning fees, and that will differentiate yourself from the WBC that will bring out a 97-year-old grandfather that they can sanction him. But where do you sit in that family?
Simon, that's a very good question. Thank you ever so much for this. You see, the focus of world boxing lately for the last 50 years been primarily on Anglo-speaking audiences in Latin America, like United States, United Kingdom, Mexico, Panama, and so on and so forth. We are also introducing a huge scope of Eastern European talent, notoriously known Russian, Ukrainian, Armenian, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan. As you know, Russians and Cubans were, due to their political reasons, they want the participants in professional boxing in 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Now this floodgate is open, so we are hoping to introduce a whole lot of new talent and mix and match with Golovkin, Kovalov, Beterbiev, Bivol. We will continue this tradition, and if we will be allowed for the collaboration in general, because the political situation at the moment is not easy. We would like to work with UK talent and American talent, proper melting pot. That's what I like Top Rank for. Top Rank never based their strategy upon certain nationality. They had Filipinos, they had Russians, they had Americans, they had Brits. That's what we're trying to do. That's how different it is, because Turkey Al Sheikh is primarily working with UK and American talent right now, some Latin American. So get all entire scope, Japan included.
I see. So you're opening the door more, Al, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. With amateur boxing governance that IBA had since 1946, I know world boxing has the key to the Olympics, but we will still stage world championships and European championships. At the end of the day, please don't judge me for this comparison. No one cares about Olympic football. Everyone cares about World Cups and European Cups, so on and so forth. Same with tennis. We are working with an Olympic committee, and there is an ongoing conversation. I don't want to say an argument or disagreement, conversation, but we are keeping our eyes on bringing the real quality and funding it commercially, so to show the world what we are really all about and bring proper talent from all over the world. That's what we're focusing on.
But Al, I'll put this to you. The IBA in the past had its reputation rocked. It was stripped of its running and status for Olympic boxing by the IOC. and that was due to concerns over the IBA's finance, government, ethics, refereeing, judging. What can you say this lunchtime to convince people that those days are gone?
Jim, it's nothing but propaganda, trust me. I'm a British citizen. I've got Russian passport. I know what's going on. My awareness is completely to a T. I know what's going on. This is all about Russophobia. This is all about geopolitical reasons. I can tell you that. Problems in boxing were with Mr. Wu, well before Umar Kremlov, well before IBA. When it was AIBA, always were. Remember, Roy Jones had problems. Everyone had problems in the past. Amateur boxing was really poorly governed. When IBA arrived with a big financial input, sorted all the debts out, the agreement was with IOC, assigned lots of stuff, invested heavily in Africa, in Latin America, non-commercially, just investments, getting gyms together, the equipment, paying the federations, getting the boxing up to scratch. IOC, for some reason, didn't like it. I think there's something personal was going on. There's lots of intricate geopolitical situation which got IBA out of the system. We don't mind that. It's all the game. All we want to focus on boxing. We want to bring best boxing to the world. We're not losers, we're not suckers. We just want to continue. Listen, at the end of the day, the only conflicts we need, it's in the ring, Jim. You know? And the situation is not easy. That's what I can say to justify IBA. They've done a tremendous job with paying Olympians, paying the purses, paying the prize money, which never happened before in amateur boxing.
You know where I'll go with this, though? Back in February, the IBA said it had filed a complaint against the IOC with the Swiss Attorney General citing safety concerns over gender eligibility. It followed the case of Imani Khalif, who won gold in Paris at the Olympics, always insisted she's eligible for the women's competition. A year before the Olympic win, Khalif was disqualified from the World Championships for reportedly failing gender eligibility tests. Now, Al, the tests were conducted by the IBA, who were later stripped of their world governing body status by the IOC over integrity governance issues. Where's your organisation now with Imani Khalif?
Yeah, I tell you where it is. So, for example, our president, Umar Kremlov, an entire organization, including medical committee, protected the information on Imani Khalif until the very last moment. I don't know how it leaked through, but I can tell you this. It's a Turkish laboratory and an Indian laboratory ran 2 tests, and it was XY46 chromosome, which proves that they're fully male. I've seen the documents myself, but we still covered the integrity of the athlete. Listen, now everyone knows the truth. It just adds so much credibility, more credibility to the IBA, and there's no formal apology, not to the athletes, to the female who competed at the competition. Neither any. Listen, no one asking to strip Imani Khalif from the medal, but if you look at jurisprudence, the case is still going 40, 50 years after the crime got committed. So they are there, at the end of the day, something needs to be done in terms of just the issue formal apology to the world. It means like IOC really twisted the plot. And I don't want to say they were lying, but they're not supporting the truth now, aren't they? Which makes it all, it takes it to the different level. We're reading between the lines, aren't we? We're all reading between the lines.
Yeah.
You know?
So, Al, it seemed it was a who's who of boxing who turned up to your event last week in Turkey. When is the next, and where is the next IBA Pro event?
Look, because we're also crossing over into IBA bare knuckle, this sport. Listen, I'm not a fan myself, but I can tell you, I can see it taking a big momentum. It's really popular. I've been to big FC events, and I see people get gripped in this. It's Tyson Fury was shocked. I remember. Maybe that's because he's traveling background and he knows what that is, but they were mesmerized by this. Look, the next big event, hoping very soon, within a couple of months, we were thinking to go to Mexico. We've got big events. We're thinking to go to Bulgaria, other places. And my ultimate dream, to bring IBA Pro to the UK. And I think British Boxing Board of Control, as being a licensee, promoter, manager, seconds, and the matchmaker, I've got a whole licensing pack with the British Boxing Board of Control. I'm hoping for the endorsement of our beloved British Boxing Board of Control, because if they are for the boxing, this is the boxing that they need to see, trust me. IBA Pro coming to the UK.
We saw a lot of recognisable faces, as Jim had lined up and suggested to you. What I didn't see was any of the major promoters there. I didn't see Frank there. I didn't see Eddie there. Did I miss something? Is there something that I'm not picking up on?
Simon, I will give you a call and I'll explain everything.
We look forward to that. Al Siesta, IBA Pro Chief Executive, thank you very much indeed. Al was speaking to us somewhere between Japan and Norway. His words, not mine.
Plays that villain role very well now. It's crying out for a little bit more attention. It comes with a lot of crazy people. I took it personally and it kind of made me rebel a bit more. To be honest, I don't really care anymore. I'm never going to change.
Boxing Update on talkSPORT with DAZN, the global home of boxing. Buy now at dazn.com/boxing.
Now then, still on the subject of boxing, Edgar Berlanga and Hamza Shiraz headline the stack card from New York, with Shakur Stevenson defending his WBC lightweight title against William Zepeda. That's on Sunday, live in DAZN. Buy now at dazn.com/boxing. That is to come. This is virtually all over in the dying seconds of it. It's the Brumbies against the British and Irish Lions. The Lions will run out winners. Alfie Reynolds will tell us more. Alfie.
And the clock is in the red, the final play of the game. The Lions looking for a final try to put the icing on the top of this performance. It's the Brumbies 24, the Lions 36. They're up and over the line. Have they got it down? The referee will go digging, and he does award the try. So another try for the Lions. The Brumbies 24, the Lions 41, with the conversion to come. So the Lions are going to win here. The scoreline's a little deceptive, Jim, because once again I think this will be a performance which will raise questions. Are the Lions ready to take on Australia? They've got one more warm-up game after this. They've scored plenty of tries here, 3 in each half. Chesham, Lowe and Marcus Smith went over in the first. We've had Ringrose and Van der Fleer go over in the second, and in fact Ollie Chesham is being credited with that try I just mentioned as well. I think they are checking it. We'll see if it gets chalked off. Also for the Lions, they lost Blair Kinghorn to injury in the first half. That could be a huge concern ahead of the Test series. We'll have to see what Andy Farrell says about it post-match after this. They're checking with the TMO whether this try is going to be awarded, but at the moment it looks like it's going to finish. Brumbies 24, British and Irish Lions 41, with the conversion to come.
Qatar Airways Lions Tour update on talkSPORT, with coverage sponsored by Tenor Man. Show male urine leakage the red card and keep control. Find out more at tenorman.co.uk.
Alfie Reynolds down under as the Lions, British and Irish Lions, beat the Brumbies. As you might expect, are they going to go on and win the tests? Well, that might be a different matter, but you'd like to think they will. In terms of winning, the Brits didn't really go about it all that effectively at Wimbledon, did they? 23 Brits started the men's and the women's singles, and I'm afraid none of them are left. It was all over as of last night, because the last man standing was Cam Norrie, who was beaten in straight sets by Carlos Alcaraz. So no more British interests in Wimbledon, and we have to move on and come to realise the fact that the Brits are not good enough, Simon, at this particular time. No. How long might this barren period post Andy Murray, dare I say, how might it last?
Well, given that we had a barren period between 1936 and whenever Andy Murray, or 2011, I think, won Wimbledon, you wonder how long it could be. I mean, obviously, during that period of time, we had a lot of talent. We had John Lloyd, we had Tim Henman, we had, lesser levels, Buster Mottram and other players, Jeremy Bates. But the only disappointment, I think, really, in the fact we got 23 players into the main draw. And they changed the governance around wild cards, so there's a lot of opportunities for English players to have gotten in because of the geographic circumstances.
Yeah.
But the only person I think that you can really suggest that didn't achieve where his ranking would have been was Jack Draper. Cilic is no mug. Cilic is a good player. But the fact is he's the number 4 player in the world. And so when you look at the other rankings, Raducanu's not ranked at any great level anymore because
she was superb, by the way.
But she played well against Sabalenka. And you look at Katie Bolter, okay, she might have been a little bit more disappointing than one anticipated. But most of them, where would we expect them to have gone? The fact we've got 23 players in the representation is progress. We talked before the Wimbledon tournament to Jamie Murray about the state of English tennis, and he was beginning to open the lid on the fact that he didn't think things were getting better. And whenever we have good players, it often seems to me that these players have to go somewhere else in the world to be coached somewhere else to get the kind of character, resilience and quality.
Isn't that mainly weather, though?
Well, yay and nay. I mean, ultimately, I don't know the weather is any better in certain parts of Europe where they're producing out great players. I don't know how great the weather is in certain parts of Europe that have got good players coming out of them.
You look at it, Simon. In 2013, Murray won the men's championship at Wimbledon, and that ended a 77-year wait for a British tennis player to do so.
But we can't be great at everything. I think we just have to accept it. We can't. Tennis isn't a working class sport for us.
But the problem is, Dan, we have difficulty finding within great reason how many things we are great at. We are the originators of so many sports, yet we are running behind everybody else when the world gets hold of them.
We've always done well. Boxing, you could argue we're in a good position.
With respect, Danny, we haven't won an international tournament for 2 generations.
No, but we've been in finals and semi-finals, and our league is strong. And English play.
Cricket, okay, we've got a little bit of resurgence because of AKA Bazball, but we didn't win things in recent times besides the World Cup a couple of years ago. Look, the bottom line is that our sports, I think we have a cultural problem in this country that we're quite happy to participate. It's not quite English to want to win. The Americans don't care how they win.
English? Well, you're saying English.
British. Well, I certainly wouldn't be saying Scotland.
I just think
Murray won it.
Yes, I know. That's why he's Britain's Andy Murray. If he was lost, it'd have been Scotland's. Right? The fact of the matter is
Rory McIlroy hasn't done badly in the world of golf.
That's true. That's true. And we've got some brilliant golfers. But I do think with tennis, and my experience growing up and trying to play tennis, and even now my kids, when they try and play tennis, unless you've got money to go and book courts.
We dominate the sports where...
Honestly, Jim, you can't... The facilities aren't there.
Infrastructure's poor. We dominate the sports where it doesn't seem that it requires much physical activity, i.e. snooker and darts. You can talk about the best players in the world, and we've got them.
Yeah.
But he's absolutely right. If you go to Germany, all the 4G pitches, when we start talking about St George's, how wonderful we've done St George's, and then you look at the fact that Germany's got thousands and thousands of 4G pitches, like I was saying to that
even Holland,
Liberal Democrat MP, we're selling off sporting pitches in this country.
Well, you know, for example, I mean, we look at the best player in the world now, Alcaraz, obviously Spanish.
Yeah.
With Nadal. And, but in Spain, I know paddle's got big, but tennis, I'm assuming, is more readily available to the youngsters.
Yeah, culturally, absolutely.
Yeah, well, you can't rely on Scotland's Andy Murray any longer. Might we rely, Danny, on Scotland's Bob McIntyre in the world of golf? Maybe. Bob coming through, and we'll play at North Berwick, and we'll see how he gets on at that.
Well,
I think thereafter the Open.
I think he would sacrifice not doing well at the Scottish Open to win the Open.
Exactly. Danny Murphy, we thank you.
Pleasure.
As always, this Wednesday lunchtime. Simon, I'll see you tomorrow at 10. Incidentally, Danny, you're off now for a little while. Taking a well-earned break.
Till August, then we crack on again, don't we?
We do indeed.
Well, I don't know, when are you back?
I'm not entirely sure. I will be back, whenever suits you, I'll be back, Dan. Mid-August.
Because when you two have a break, the ratings obviously drop.
Simon and I are going on holiday together next week. No, we're not. Simon and I are back at the beginning of the week, that's for sure. But we're also back tomorrow at 10. Join us then. In the meantime, have a great afternoon. Jim White, Simon Jordan, Danny Murphy with you live in talkSPORT. With Selco, you got it, where the trade goes.